Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Cardboard Hands. We are live here discussing the potential fate of the channel and the fate of a whole card game. Is Metazoo Games going to be the old Metazoo Games, or is it going to be Retro Zoo Games? What is it going to be? Join us all. Welcome. Thanks for coming and hanging out while we discuss the many possibilities as well as the Pokemon market. We've got a few different topics to discuss. We aren't just going to be memeing about the whole Metazoo thing the whole time. That's just kind of a joke, but I do want to discuss what's happening with Metazoo because we haven't had a chance to talk about that. It is up for sale now. And then we have a few other topics like TCGplayer. I'd like to discuss the state of TCGplayer as the sort of central hub of buying and selling cards in the hobby. We haven't really ever talked about them more than just like referencing them. I'd like to talk about Terrestrial Festival. The announce is not Terrestrial Festival like I had thought. Terrestrial Festival.
Terrestrial Festival is it's a basic trainer stream.
Something of the sort. I would tune into that. I would love to tune into that stream, but no, Terrestrial Festival is the next announcement for like one of the sets coming up. I think it's in December is when it's supposed to come out, and it's a big Eevee set. So is it the next Evolving Skies? And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about Bandai and One Piece and get into some other shenanigans. But first and foremost, how's it going, Nick? What's going on with you? What have you been up to? It's been a couple weeks.
Just rocking and rolling. Got a lot of stuff going on. I go back to school here in a few days. I just have to take like one accounting class over the summer before I transfer in the fall. Just been trying to get everything together with the business. Japanese wholesale has been going bonkers, and I mean that's pretty much it. What about you?
Not much. Just the same old for me. I just got done with lunch, so we're a little bit late here. I apologize for that. I was down in a homemade McRib that I made with some ribs yesterday. It's delicious, but I had barbecue sauce everywhere. Probably still have some, so a little sauce on the face doesn't hurt anyone. But other than just cooking and barbecuing in this good weather and all that normal kind of day-to-day stuff, I think I need to go to Costco after this, which is always an exciting journey. I know anyone who has Costco's in their states, which I just learned as of our last couple of videos, which apparently Costco isn't a national thing. I guess Rusty, TCA Gaming, he hadn't even known about Costco's if it wasn't for online people talking about them. He said it sounds like a Sam's Club, which I think is a similar type of a wholesale type Walmart kind of place, but it's different. Costco is not Sam's Club. In my opinion, Costco is so much better than Sam's Club.
I feel like Rusty would love Costco.
I said that to him, bro.
Yeah, Rusty strikes me as a Costco kind of guy. I mean, I know he's got a big family and stuff, but I mean, he lives out on like a compound, and it's like,
yes.
God, you need that Costco in your life ASAP.
It's probably a good thing he doesn't have a Costco in his life, because I always spend way more money than I was meant to spend going into Costco. And I can imagine the level of rationale that a really reasonable person like Rusty would have going into Costco and seeing some of the good deals on really good brands on stuff and being like, well, it makes sense if I just buy a whole pallet of this while I'm here just to save the guy. So it's maybe for the best that he doesn't have that option.
We should, if he comes to Card Party in the Northwest, we should make a video. We take him to Costco, and it's like vendor POV. We take Pokemon's biggest whale into Costco, and we're just getting him samples and having him try a bunch of stuff. And then afterwards we tailgate, and it's just the hatchback is kicked open. He's just sitting in it. We're just here, try this. But
excuse me. The butt of the whole joke in the video is that on the way out, we see one of those pallets full of Pokemon cards that they're selling at Costco, and he's like, well, this is actually cheaper than what I can get at the distributor right now. So
Dog,
let's just buy the whole thing and ship it out.
Have you seen those like Mew UPC deals for like seven?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen those in my local Costco. I'm like, dog, for $80, I would back the truck up on those, but I can't. I think you could maybe order them.
They're 89. I think they're 90.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're 90. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Still a great deal.
Yeah, that's a really good deal. They're not physically in my like in my local Costco. I haven't been to the other Costco's in Washington to check that, but you might be able to buy them on the website and then like get them delivered.
You could.
Okay.
I don't know if you can currently, but you could as of like a week ago. You could get them directly if you had a membership from the website. So
I'm in two minds about it, and maybe that kind of goes into our next topic, like the market watch. But like, what do you think? Because my mind, like, part of me is like, okay, 151 is too good of a product for them to not reprint, and we've seen in the past them go overboard with UPC, or not overboard, but like they've made UPCs available, and previously the like thinking around like ETBs and UPCs was like, oh, it's a bulky product, it's too difficult for them to reprint. But like obviously that wasn't true with like the Arceus UPC or the Charizard UPC or whatever. So part of me is like $80, $90 is a really good buy-in price for that product, especially since it comes with the 3 promo. Like it's a good product, I would argue. But part of me is still like, you know, what if they hit you with another wave? So what do you think?
I mean, here's the thing. I think it's a modern product, and I think it's a really popular, good value modern product. I've always held this about the UPC, even when it was like 120, 125. I think all the stuff you get inside of it, you get the best card from the set, the Mew, the promo Mew that's in it. You get it in only the UPC. So I would argue that if you're going to open one single product and only open one product of 151, your best bet is just to grab a UPC and just open all the packs in there, get the promos you want. And the only thing you're missing are some of the cool auxiliary promos that came with like the poster collection, which I like, the Cosmos Hollow, Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur. I love those. But I mean, other than those types of little things that you probably don't even know exist for your master set, you're going to get a good experience opening that one product. So and you're going to get like a playmat out of it. You're going to get like some weird little auxiliary other items, and I think sleeves come with it or something. It's a cool thing. So I really do think that at $90, it's great value, because I thought that at $120. Do I think it's going to like go up in value or like be like scarce like the UPC from Celebrations was, or be quote unquote a good investment? I don't really, because I see it doing sort of similar things in what's happening with like Hidden Fates and other sort of modern products that sort of find their price median or their comfortable price plateau, and they just sit there, because there's a level, I think, that not all things just continue going up indefinitely. I think that things have a certain price point where they feel right and they feel comfortable, and it feels uncomfortable to a certain point. Like Team Up's at that point right now. But besides the fact of like the regular V Gengar or the GX Gengar Mimikyu just skyrocketed over to $100, so you can maybe get some money back opening team up packs. The value proposition of opening a $50 team up pack or a $65 team up pack, whatever the price of a team up pack is right now, is very, very small, unless you get that, once again, that weird Gengar situation, which I think might be market manipulation a little bit on that, but very unlikely you'll get your money back on it. And it's hard to get someone to buy into a $2,000 box, because the idea behind a box like that is you want to open it if you know you're not going to get your value back. So eventually people push back, and then you start seeing that pushback on the market. And it's not because it's like it supplies, there's way too much supply and everyone's selling it, so the price is going down. It's just the price is regulating. And I think all products have that price like floor, or not floor, but like that price plateau that most buyers eventually get to with it. Now, some things will keep growing because people will keep on liking the product and realizing it's getting older. But something that's so modern, like 151 English, that I would argue is going to keep getting reprinted, it's never going to have that impetuous, that fire under it until years and years later, when the reprints are far and away out of the conversation, to ever really rise in price and be a good investment. And so like something as big and bulky as a UPC that's just going to stay stagnant or very slowly gain in price and then retrace back down when people feel like, I don't want to pay more than $7 a pack for this English modern product. Because let's be real, are you ever going to feel comfortable in this year paying more than, not as like Whatnot rip and ship, because people on Whatnot will pay whatever on online because they'll pay whatever the market price is, but $10 a booster pack of like 151 English, I don't see that. I can't see $10 a pack. I sell at these, and $7 a pack is hard, and it's scarce right now, and it's very desirable. Like I don't feel like a modern pack is going to go over $10 anytime soon because it'll just keep getting reprinted.
It's so easy for them to like pump out, because in my mind, I think like investing wise, yeah, probably like Pokemon Center ETBs or UPCs or whatever. But to your point about the pack price going up, like a lot of the people that are going to be buying the product to break down are streamers. And if booster bundles are an option and Pokemon pumps out enough of those booster bundles, like packs are going to be available. So I don't entirely know like what's going to happen there. Like I feel like packs themselves, which people want to rip for streams or whatever, like that, those are going to be fairly accessible. So I think that might hamper maybe the or put a damper on like the price of like the seal, but I don't know. I'm not entirely sure there. I think overall,
you're looking at something like 151, and you have to look at it with the pack price because there is no booster box for that. The closest thing to it now would be like the booster bundles. And you see those are holding strong at like $400 for a booster bundle for a 150, which is insane to me, because that's more than
for a case. You're talking about for a case.
For like 10 of them, yeah, a display bundle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because they don't really come in cases. I have heard of examples of them coming in 25 booster bundle cases, but that's not how I got them. I got them in 10 booster displays. I still have one like behind me there, but those are what I guess you could call a booster box of a specialty set. But they haven't always made those, and they have been in low supply historically this time around. So like you said, I think they're going to get reprinted. That's a most likely candidate for the reprint, as well as ETBs. UPCs may not get reprinted, but even if they don't, there's so many of them already out there. Like they are available. Like you just saw at Costco that we were talking about those. Other UPCs are doing well though. Like the Charizard UPC is trickled upwards. I mean, so I could be wrong on that. I think that's just basically because of Sword and Shield doing so well, though. It has nothing to do with that being a great product or anything. It is a good product, but it's because the packs inside have trickled upwards. So
yeah, well, and the thing to the credit, I guess, of the Mew UPC, at least from what I've seen, I only opened a few, but the quality of the Charizard promos out of the Charizard UPC were abysmal compared, in like you still might get like little dings and nicks and things like that out of the Mew, but it's nowhere near as bad of print quality on those cards as the Charizard UPCs were. And not really. I mean, you've opened more than me, so you might have. But I would just say
I showed you pictures of how many of those Mews that I bought and how I was like going broke at that time buying those Mews when they're like $3.
Yeah, but you're up, right? Like those are up now.
Well, yeah, but okay. I opened a lot of those, a lot to grade. I like did the thing where you look on the back, you slide it a little bit, you see if there's like little whitening on the corner, you see if it's a good one to open, you kind of check the edges, and then you open it. When I open those, like there's just so many little tiny issues that you didn't see in the Sword and Shield era that it made it very difficult to get 10s. Like I sent 10 of my best of those in, and only like 4 of the 10 hit 10s. So it's like a 40% 10 rate from me, who had like I probably had over 100 to choose from, like looking through them. So yeah, I still got a bunch of them sealed, and they're still worth like more than what I paid. But like I've looked through most of them, and I certainly know they're not going to 10. And now if I want to buy more, they're expensive they're not expensive. They're like $7, but it's like still it's more than I want to pay for them, knowing that most of them are not going to be gradable. And then the graded ones are only worth like $60, $50 or $60. So it's not really worth buying 10 of them at $5 to $7 each to get literally maybe one of the 10 that you're thinking, okay, maybe I'll grade. So yeah, I'm still, you know me, I'm an English simp, and I love things that are hard to grade. I think it's cheaper than it should be.
I think that Mew, I mean, even right now, I want to say it's like $5, but like that card, I don't know, man. Because the only other option in Japanese, even after like all the reprints and supply of Japanese 151, I still think that card is like $50 to $60 raw. So for the English version, the only way you can get it is out of a $90 product. It's a $5 card. Like, I don't know, man. Like a 10x differential between that version and the Japanese version. Like I could see. I mean, like even that card being $10 does not seem unreasonable. Because I want to say the Charizard. I'd have to check on TCGplayer, but I want to say those Charizards are like $10 to $15 out of the Charizard UPC.
One's
So
over
like,
$15. The Godzilla one is actually like $16 or $17. It's English juicy sploosy.
Yeah. But even the other, well, here's the thing too, is like they're cheap. The other ones are cheap in Japanese because they're out of V-Star Universe. And so again, like it's not like you're paying some crazy premium to get the Japanese version, but with the Mew, it's $5 versus 50. So it's like for the Mew to make it to $10, that seems doable. I mean, popular Pokemon, really cool art. I don't know, like that $5 for that card seems cheap to me. So yeah, I don't think you're in a bad spot for having them. And then the Mewtwo, like again, like that's cheap in Japanese because it's an AR, but it's still a sick Mewtwo art. I think a lot of people really like that. So yeah, I don't know, man. Good product.
But
it is what it is.
Will
Really,
be
really
stagnant in price, in my opinion, for a long time. Great products with great sets. So here's the thing, like if we didn't get any other good sets coming out for the next year, then these products I think would continue to get a little bit more expensive and a little bit more desirable, and that's what people would be reaching in the cookie jar for. I think that we have some really good sets down the pipeline though, and I think that's going to really seriously put a wet blanket on the Sword and Shield like booster box like fire that's been going on. It's already been a wet blanket put on that sort of alternate art sort of craze, but it's going to seriously put a blanket on it because it's going to take up that like mentality and shift it to the more modern.
Well, and even like Celebrations has cooled off a little bit, and part of me wonders if that's because the monies is starting to move or already has moved into like alt art stuff, and like the main chase from Celebrations is just the base set reprint Charizard. So part of me is like, is that strong enough to hold, like to continue for Celebrate? Because like I want to say Generations has been pretty stagnant too, right? Like the 20th anniversary set. So I'm like, is Celebrations kind of at that plateau point? I don't really know, but real quick, Fat Belly Collects said, question, knowing that interest rates affect the stock market, real estate, gold, and other commodities, what impact would dropped interest rates have on Pokemon? This is me personally. I'm not like a PhD economist or anything like that, but a lot of the content that I listen to, a lot of like the fund managers, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, people are like, oh yeah, like the Fed should cut. And me personally, looking at the economy, I'm like, why? I mean, as a joke, my name on Discord is Powell is not cutting. And it's because almost every day I see some crazy stuff happen, whether it's like prices for stuff on the Golden Show or, you know, movements in the TCG market or whatever. Like I'm constantly seeing these indicators where I'm like, dog, there is so much money out there. The economy is strong, unemployment's low, blah, 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 blah. And like inflation is actually like starting to tick back up a little bit in certain areas. So I don't personally see a reason for them to cut, but it is an election year. Like they tend to sort of do that during the election year sometimes. So, but to be honest, like I don't know if it's going to have like a crazy 1-to-1 correlation with what happens in Pokemon. I mean, dog, it was what, 9.1 billion cards printed, then 9.7, and then this year it was like 11.8. So like the growth rate as far as how many cards Pokemon's printing is exponential, and that's at a time where like interest rates were being hiked at the most aggressive rate they have in like 20 or 30 years or something like that, and they're still selling more. I don't know. Like if interest rates drop, I don't think Pokemon's just going to absolutely explode. I actually think that like a lot of people are, especially like wealthy people that have like a lot of money sitting in accounts right now with interest rates being high, you can earn 5% on your uninvested cash, 5.5%. So like if you're having 5% like trickle in, you know what I mean? Like, and you're getting paid out on like your high interest savings account or whatever, that creates discretionary income for people. So if interest rates get lower and people don't have these fixed income products where they can like, earn those high percentage interest rates anymore, maybe they don't actually spend as much, like, or have as much money to spend discretionary, but just like generally, like outside of interest rates and macroeconomic, blah, 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 like I'm really bullish on the hobby right now. Like Josh does a lot of shows, so he could probably speak to that too. But like I just feel like things are so strong right now. And if this is like a low point because people aren't as excited about the Scarlet and Violet era Pokemon, I can only imagine what the market would be like if we entered like a high point to where like they started really cooking with this tail end of the block sets. I don't know, man. Like, what do you think? You do a lot of shows, so you can see like a lot of sentiment as well.
The next time I'm at a show and I'm selling, I'll ask the Supreme wearing sneaker, Air Jordan touting, jersey wearing customer of mine, what they think the interest rates would possibly do to their sports card collection. To be honest, with all due respect, Fat Belly, I think you're putting far too much thought into the average person's far too much good. Like you're thinking that the average person is heavily invested in the stock market. The average Pokemon investor is highly savvy with like financial things, or very well invested, and they're using their money wisely. To be quite frank with you, most of this hobby is dominated by very, very young investors, or young collectors, I would call them, rather than investors, because I feel like investors paints a bit of a different picture. And I don't think that these collectors really care about the interest rate, what the Fed does with it one way or the other. Yes, I absolutely think that it has something to do with the overall economy, and that will affect these collectors, whether they like it or not. But whether I think they will be affected directly and hear that the interest rates change and then that's going to affect how they start collecting one way or the other, no, I don't think so. Not in the least. People collect with their heart. They don't collect with their head. They spend first, and then they find out how they can budget later on making that collection piece work into their day-to-day life. It's not the other way around per se. Some people do it the other way around. And that's what we are going to tell you should do. But it's like far fewer people than you think are. Like I said, my average customer, the next time I see them, I'll tell them to raise up their flat bill hat just a little bit and tell me what's in their stock investments, because I think it will be eye-opening to both me and what I share with you guys when they tell me.
I'm buying you a pair of Yeezys when you come to Seattle. I'm getting you an official Magikarp custom pair of Yeezys. But another thing, like too, to consider, even more so than the interest rates or whatever, is like the amount of wealth that is like being created in the hobby over the past even 6 months. Like depending on what you're holding, like you're probably up pretty good. So even if things like corrected 15-20%, like you've probably made money on stuff that you're sitting on, whether it's like raw chase cards from Sword and Shield era or boxes or whatever. So that's something to consider too, is like Pokemon is doing well, and like when Pokemon does well, the people holding it do well. So I don't know, like that's something worth considering too. But
what do you think about the Japanese market right now? While we're on this topic, I want to hear what you think about things, because just give us an overall update, because I don't know what's going on. Didn't 151 go down a lot, and then it's on its way up a little bit, but still maybe it's got a reprint coming? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I mean, like, well, first off, I should say, and I've been talking about this on my channel for a while, but Japan's economy right now is super, super weak. And the US dollar is very strong against the yen, and it continues to trend up against the yen. The yen's very weak right now. People in Japan are kind of like fire sailing to get money. So and things are really available. The demand is insane, and so like every time 151 hits like a bottom, pretty much it rockets up like $5 to $10 overnight because people sell out. And it's not just selling out to people in America, like they're selling out in Japan. Like people in Japan want this stuff too. So it's ripping. But like right now, prices for like sealed boxes are fairly available for most sets outside of like your really crazy stuff like like EV Heroes and 151 and stuff like that. Those are like slightly less available. But everything else is dirt cheap right now because there's just a ton of supply. But again, like there's a ton of demand. Like people are buying it up, but the economy is super weak in Japan, and I think that's something that people have to consider. Like even if the yen started trading up, prices could remain static in yen, and the prices would go up in dollars. But right now, like the prices are slightly trickling down because the dollar is trending up against the yen. So that's something that people have to factor in as well. Is that like the whole economy of the country is kind of not doing so hot right now. With 151, it got pretty cheap, and then it was cheap for like 2 days, and then it shot up like $10 pretty much overnight. There might still be more coming, I think, like at the end of July. But then it's also tough to know too, like how much of that is priced in, like when these big convenience stores actually get their stock and start selling, like how much is that actually going to affect the market? Like the sellers already have that factored in. All I can say is the demand for this set is stronger than like any other set I've ever seen outside of like Evolving Skies or EV Heroes. I just think long term, regardless of language, it's not even like a brain dead play. It's just like, look, dude, the market is telling you what they want and what they like. You don't really need to do any guesswork around it. But what is surprising me really quick, and then we can move on, is I see sets that are printed maybe less in English, and people seem to like the chase cards. Like I think is it Temporal Forces that has the dogs in English?
No, that's Paradox.
Okay, yeah. So like that set in Japan. Well, okay, so it's split up into 2 sets in Japan, but Wild Force is the good hat. That has like all the dogs and it has the Gengar in it, and then the Ghastly AR and all that stuff. That set is dirt cheap in Japan, like dirt cheap. Like I want to say I have it listed for like $32 through my wholesale program, or maybe even like $30 for a box. And that's the good half of the set. Like that has all the hits in it. But then in English, like Temporal Forces or Paradox or whatever is ripping, or not ripping, but like it's doing fairly well, and the SIRs are selling fairly well, and people seem to like it. So I'm not trying to say like get cute and invest in it, but it is surprising to me that like that set is that cheap when it seems to be doing well in English. And I don't know. I think the cards are cool. I think the dogs are actually pretty cool arts, and then obviously like the Gengar and the Ghastly AR is like really cool looking. So it's just a supply thing. The economy is super weak, but the demand is nuts. The cheaper stuff gets, the more people buy. You know what I mean? Like I have way more people buying now that boxes are in like the 50s than they were when boxes were like 75, $80. You know what I mean? So supply demand curve, like as price goes down, more people buy. And I mean, it's cool too. Like not even trying to be like, oh, for the community or whatever, but like it is pretty cool that you can buy a box for $30 and rip it. Like a mainline, like new popular Pokemon set for $30. Like that's pretty accessible. People have been yelling about like that for a long time, and it's like, yeah, and you're seeing that in both languages. Not $30 in English, but like you can buy most new English sets that come out for what, like $85, $90 on eBay or something like that. So it's like those are accessible prices, and I don't know, like over time, like $30 seems crazy to me, dude. Like $30, like I don't. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just like the massive amount of supply, and I don't think I've talked. Last thing, like I don't think I've talked about it on here, but they went back and reprinted Lost Abyss and Paradigm Trigger, which is Silver Tempest is Paradigm Trigger, like the Lugia Chase, and then Lost Abyss is Lost Origin. And Lost Abyss came out before Lost Origin, so it's an older set, right? And it doesn't look like Pokemon's going to reprint Lost Origin, but they went all the way back and reprinted Lost Abyss. So right now, like, Japanese people are kind of shook because Pokemon's reprint schedule in Japan has been wild, and pretty much anything that they deem to be, like, you know, too high a price or not available, they're reprinting. So it's tough for people to have like confidence and want to like diamond hand stuff when there's just like a lot of it available. But I don't know, like it's getting eaten up pretty quick too. So we'll see what happens. But that, I mean, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, dog, like, why are you going back and reprinting like these old Sword and Shield era sets, especially when English isn't showing any signs of doing that? So I don't know. That kind of surprised me, but yeah.
I think that there's something to do with it being a smaller market for Japanese cards, but it have been blown up to have gotten so much bigger than it was ever before, and the demand was so much larger that they stopped selling it in their own country and they started selling it abroad, and it was an international demand. So the demand in the country was really ravenous because they just didn't get it. So they're reprinting to satiate that in-country demand that now is not being like gobbled up by the international community like it was. So maybe they're like, the company is thinking like, okay, now we can get our citizens, the people who we intended for this product for in the first place, to actually keep it and have it within the country. Because the intent that is to get your own people the cards to play with, so you can have a healthy functioning game. And if it never got to market, then that's just like a small portion of time where there's no Japanese cards in Japan there. Like,
yeah,
so
well,
maybe there's that.
Outside of like the convenience stores too, like I know a lot of the card stores, especially the bigger ones, when like a set would hit, all these big buyers would just buy directly from the card store and wipe their allocation. So like local people could not get access to those boxes because, and then the big dudes are like, well, I can make more selling this internationally than selling it in the country. So like outside of like the convenience stores, but and then the only reason the convenience store stuff is staying in the country is because they're cutting shrink. So like when you buy it, you take it to the counter and then they check you out and then they cut the shrink so that to prevent resale basically. So you know, and I think even Pokemon Center is doing that as well. So, but again, like the big card shops, they get a wave of like 1,000 boxes, and these dudes will just come in and like wipe them out, and then be like, okay, well, I'm gonna mark it up and sell it internationally. And I think like Japan, they have different cultural standards, and yeah, man, I think that they're just trying to make product available to people. But again, like all this stuff is cyclical. Like the same thing happened in English, right? Like they printed a ton of battle styles, a ton of Chilling Reign, and people were fairly negative on those sets for a while. And look what they're doing now. Not trying to say that same thing is going to happen here, but things are cyclical. And when there's a lot of stuff available, people are just. It just is what it is, man. Like I even look back on stuff, like I was just thinking the other day, like buying GXs, like regular GXs. We considered those bulk like 2 or 3 years ago, and maybe people still consider those bulk. I look at a lot of those cards and I'm like, these arts are actually kind of sick. And now that they're like moving up a little bit in value, I'm like maybe I appreciate them more than when they were worthless. It's weird how that works, but yeah, anyways, just kind of ranting all over the place. But
well, I mean, I do think that there's a segment of people out there who collect Japanese cards, but I do think that we're back to like it's not being pumped and stuff. So I think the demand is back to being normal, and so these prices being $30-$40 a box feels a lot more like what I'm used to with Japanese stuff, and I feel a lot less violently against that. The Josh that you know that's against Japanese cards now was not the Josh that existed pre like 2020, 2021. I didn't care. I really didn't care about them because they existed, they were cheaper, and they were Japanese, and that was fine. But I didn't really care about them, and I didn't read them. I couldn't read them. I didn't collect them, so they weren't on my radar. But they were always available cheap, and there were times when I would buy them. So when the English, they would get like some Japanese exclusives, like an All-Star GX or Tag GX. Sorry, I would buy those sets, and I would still enjoy them, but they'd always be dirt cheap, even those sets. So I liked them then, and I think I would like them. I still would like them now. I wouldn't, like I said, be as violently against them as I am when they're very expensive, like you've seen. But I just don't think that there's as many people in the world who collect Japanese as there are English, and the market is stronger on the English side because of that. And you see time and time again that international sort of strength that leads. The English sets
I don't know about that. I think that there's definitely more demand in America, but internationally, like, it's a tough call. It's a tough call.
I don't think it's that tough. I think it's a pretty easy thing to see. I don't think we're looking at the right metrics to see it. I think somewhere out there is a very easy metric to be able to measure it. I just don't think we're really easily. But you can just look at which one sells more, probably on like the company side, I bet. And you'd have to account for like other things if they sell video games, plushies, all that kind of stuff. But I think there is a way to tell. And I hate to say, I think English is a bigger market, but just because Japanese is so small, it's a small little island, it's an isolated island. How many people in the world speak Japanese versus how many people speak English?
I don't think that matters. Like
English or do they speak English or Japanese in the Olympics for international?
Yeah, but none of that matters. Like again, like I remember selling, trying to sell like when I had those top 16 and top 32s. Those cards are harder to get, way more rare. There's a limited, like a fixed number of those cards that we know. They're harder to grade, and I would try to sell those to Chinese whales. They didn't want them. They wanted the Japanese champion special. So like
it's just a very individualized, experiential, sort of experience-driven perspective. Your own one perspective, and that I realize I'm giving my own perspective too. But I think there's a broader perspective out there, and there are probably numbers that most likely reflect that it's a larger English market. Now, I think that we interact with more people. You and
Australia, right? Who's the biggest seller in Australia? Pokemon Steven doesn't sell any English. You know what I mean?
I think there's probably still lots of English collectors, and I think that's just because he doesn't like English. It has nothing to do with the market over there. He said specifically he doesn't.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know enough about the same
Not
thing
to
with like Dragon Ball Z.
He specifically says he doesn't like English. They started selling English, and he started selling Japanese after, and he just lost interest in English. He doesn't like English anymore, and that's just the take that because it's not. I think that there's plenty of English collectors in Australia.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm just saying that like for the number one seller in Australia to be 100%.
It might be because there's not as many other sellers in Australia who focus on just Japan, so there's less of a competition. There's something to be said for a niche, finding a niche.
Kai's pretty big. I think he does both, but definitely like leans more to the Japanese. I think primarily the reason that stuff's getting held up in English right now is because the print quality sucks. And the gem rates are really low, and the pop reports are like really low.
I think that's actually making it really good. I think that's actually increasing the price of the English and holding.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think if we had the same gem rate in Scarlet and Violet as we did in Sword and Shield, I don't think the prices would be where they're at. I think these cards are tough to grade, and
I think there would be a different set of prices that emerged. I think we'd still see the same trends though. I don't think that we'd see certain cards being as crazy because they're the grading premiums. Like, for example, the Greninja EX that's going for like over $800 in a PSA 10 right now. It's close to $1,000, the English PSA 10 of the Greninja.
That's insane. That's crazy.
And that's insane, but that's probably because the print quality is so bad and there's so few of them that it's like the same thing with the Magikarp AR. I think if we saw the print quality was really, really good, the Magikarp AR in English wouldn't be $150. It would be like $30 to $40 probably. because everyone would get a 10. They'd only have a small premium for being a 10. But since you can buy that card allegedly for $150, and if you get a 10, it's worth $600, all air quotes, because that won't happen on the first time you buy it, because it's just really bad print quality. It's a PSA 8 usually.
I'm seeing some sales for like 600. I think
on what? The Magic card?
No, on the Greninja. I think.
Okay, yeah. So just today,
That's
there's
still
some
nuts.
auctions
That's still
running.
nuts.
UAP posted pictures of 2 auctions of the Greninja that are running. They're going like over 800, so it's probably closer to 600. That's what sales were, but I think it's moving up. Regardless, 600 to 800.
It brought up the price of. It brought up the price of the Japanese too. It looks like the Japanese, like I think I sold those when the set first dropped, and I think I was selling them for like 110 or something, and I think they're up to like 125 now. So
the card is obviously having its hard time finding what its price wants to be right now. That's what it's going through, its little discovery phase. It's getting experimental with itself and making its parents uncomfortable.
It's a sick card. I'll say that. Like I like it a lot.
What's that tongue do, Greninja?
Hey yo. Yeah, no, it's printing for sure. That is.
I mean, it is the popular Pokemon, I guess. It is a chase card. It's probably a very low gem rate comparatively. Probably really bad quality. The thing is, like, oh, man, I gotta start sending more cards to PSA that are like on the border of 8s and 9s, because I right now only send cards that are like shoe-ins for 10s with maybe the potential to 9 from like centering purposes, but never from whitening purposes. If it has whitening on it, I don't send it really, but I need to start changing that. I think I've heard in the comments from several people in the last video we did that like the fact that we're not sending at that pristine rate, it's like not a good thing. So I agree with that. I think that maybe I need to start sending some more less pristine cards just to see how PSA's sort of allowances are for those things.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, like I'll throw something in that's on the border, but I don't know. I'm pretty strict with pre-grading. I don't want to. I'd rather like send something in that I know is going to get a 9 and then I get surprised when it's a 10 rather than like gamble. And I'd rather just flip the card raw and make a little money reselling it raw than tie up an extra $15 and for like a month and a half, and then potentially get 9 and then having to sell it for the same price or less than the raw price. It's just, I don't know. I'm a little more risk averse, I guess. But
so I'm running into a similar thought process lately, but it's only for Japanese stuff. Like literally the profit margins on 10s are hardly even there, and the profit margins on 9s are definitely not there. You're demolished after the $15. But like with English stuff, it's not the same. You can still kind of do okay on 9s. It maybe make even a bit of a premium. It's on 8s that you start getting demolished and stuff. That's because the print quality is so bad in English that it's become like understood that a 9 is actually pretty good. So it's kind of interesting how that's shifted. And I think it's because of, once again, that demand is there, the organic demand. There's more people who genuinely want the card in English versus the same card in Japanese, just in the collector's market. Maybe it's because I'm dealing in America. Maybe if I was dealing in a different country like Australia at these shows, I would feel differently. But like, just, I don't know, man. There's so fewer people now that come up and just ask for like the Japanese version. I do have some Japanese stuff that I have like random, or not like Japanese stuff, and whenever they see it in the case, they get all excited.
I think it's all. I think, dude, like just to be
they're like, oh, it's Japanese. Never mind. I didn't need that.
No. I've gotten that too a little bit, like even at Collecticon, but it's all like what your market is and who you're selling to. Like my local dude that I deal with, that like I've made those vlogs about the orders. Like he just placed a $33,000 order for all Japanese singles, and he doesn't want any English. And he's like selling this to like streamers and grading it and like probably doing mystery bags or whatever. And like that stuff prints on stream. Like he's asking for GXs and CP6 hollows and celebrations. And anytime I'm like, oh, like I can maybe get you a little English, he's like, unless like it has to be in perfect condition. So it just depends on like where, like who you're selling to, what's your market. Like it just depends. Like I don't really know. Like there's definitely still margin on Japanese for sure, but
the people who buy my slabs are typically two subsets of people. It's not the average general collector, because that's like the raw collectors and the binder collectors. I think that's pretty obvious. But like the two subsets of people that buy slabs from me the most are like investors who don't grade at all, but who want their favorite, like species collectors, species investors. Gengar collectors are notorious for this, like Mew collectors. People who like certain Pokemon, but only in PSA 10, and they're getting all of them. And they're just kind of filling out their checklist of it. You know, they're not buying multiples. They're just kind of filling out a checklist of their collection. Maybe they move on from that collection. They end up trading those in or something. But they're buying one or two at a time at certain ones. Or the other type of person who's buying slabs from me is buying everything at 80%. And it's a streamer. And he's gonna haggle on prices on last solds. And he's gonna look them up. Everything. He's gonna be a big buyer. He's gonna buy everything under a certain price point, and they're gonna use those in mystery bags, or they're gonna use them in these like TikTok things, or like these made up things that they do.
Market is too hot to be taking 80%. If it's good stuff, like I'm not taking 80%.
But
like,
that's what I'm saying. Those are the two types of buyers. You have your bulk buyer, who's like a streamer, who's going to buy a bunch of them at a certain percentage, a little lower than market.
Even streamers now pay like 90 to 95 if it's good stuff. Like what Hit Parade, which is like a huge repacker in the sports space, they're starting to get into Pokemon. I sold a bunch of stuff to that dude at Collecticon, 95%.
Yeah, I've had to start buying alternate arts at like 85% just to get the customers to bite when they come up to me at the shows. So like you have to start raising your buy. So for sure, I'm sure those prices are starting to get a little higher percentage wise. Regardless what the percentage rise, you either have your bulk buyers who are buying at a percentage, or you have your single collector buyers. You don't have people buying just casually buying slabs. Like I want that $60 slab just to put in there, throw up on my shelf, and then I want these singles too. You have a very stark separation of the types of buyers, and so I think there's a lot less of those slab buyers, than there are of the casual single buyers. So like I feel much more comfortable in the singles realm now, and that's why I think you're kind of leaning towards singles a lot too. I've heard that generally speaking that singles do really good, and that's because the majority of people, it's still the easiest entryway is just hand them a slab of a piece of cardboard that they point at and say how much, and you give them a price and they pay for it. Like all these other layers and stuff, it's all gravy, it's all fine, but it's not the way that most people collect. So
yeah, raw prints for sure. I've definitely switched recently, just over like the past 3 to 6 months. I've really been like tight about what I'm buying, and anything that I buy, like I have to be able to make money on it raw. Like I used to take a lot more risk, and I'd be like, oh, like if it has to 10, or I break even or lose money. Not really doing that anymore. Like now I only buy stuff that like I can, if it comes in and it's not gradable, I can turn around and still make like $20 flipping it raw, $15 flipping it raw. And if it grades, like if it's gradable, then that's just kind of like the cherry on top. And yeah, like as far as buyouts go, like the market is just too good. Even on eBay, like I'm getting like way more stingy. Like I'll list a card, I'll make sure it's like low list, buy it now or whatever. And people will be like, oh, would you take this? And I'm like, no, like not really. Like it's in it, and the card will sell like an hour later. So it just like some dude tried to message me this morning and like way lowball me on like a Giratina alt art, and he's like, yeah, well there's a reprint. I'm like, dog, the reprint's already priced in, and like I turned down his offer. Some dude bought it like 20 minutes later. So it just, right now is not the time to be accepting 70-80% buyouts unless your inventory is like absolute boof, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it. Did you want to talk about the TCG player first before the other stuff?
So I think this is a good segue into one of our other topics. So let's skip right to the TCG player, because speaking of singles, one of the topics we wanted to talk about today was specifically TCG player, and what better place to buy and sell singles than TCG player, correct? Hobby heroes or dastardly villains. The title of this segment is such because they are touted as being probably the number one buying and selling platform for like singles and trading cards in the hobby. It's like the number one place that people kind of recommend you go to buy and sell. There's also eBay, of course. Well, eBay, actually, the reason we want to talk about this is sort of has to do with eBay. eBay just in the last few months has purchased TCGplayer as well as some other acquisitions and are making some changes to the platform. And so one of those changes that has recently been made may or may not have to do with eBay. But TCGplayer, for the seller side of things, has always had something called TCG Player Direct. Direct is basically a sell your cards type of program where you sign up for the program. If you're a large enough seller who meets their requirements, you sell a certain amount of cards per month, you fall under a certain like good seller category, all these things you have to kind of hoops you jump through. You get in the program and they will sell your cards for you, and you don't have to then ship your own cards. They ship the cards that they have, and you basically once a week, once a month, once every couple of weeks, however long it takes, you get an RI or like a return inventory or some sort of an inventory request where what they sold for you, you then send to them to replenish their quantities so then they can then rinse and repeat and do it again. So before just recently, their sellers were basically held to their own standards within TCGplayer, like condition standards. You are allowed some grievances, some like discrepancies in your inventory. They kind of slap you on the wrist a little bit. Maybe you get a charge if a customer said that they got a card that wasn't of the right condition. But they weren't too strict about it. There were tons of sellers who were
really?
in this. Yeah.
Have you been watching Mason's series that he does?
I'm going to reference that, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, sorry.
So and I'm also in a TCGplayer seller group because I'm also a seller on TCGplayer, and I'm on their Facebook group sellers like group that they recommend being a part of because like lots and lots of things come up in that group. So anyway, they just recently changed the direct program, and I've never been a part of the direct program. So that whole thing I described, if it sounds like I'm not an expert in it, it's because I'm not. I do my own selling. I ship my own cards. I use my own envelopes. I do my own stamps, all that stuff, because I sell so little on the platform. I don't really sell on TCGplayer. It's not a big platform for me. Not anymore. It used to be. But there are people who do. And so the direct platform, that program we talked about, just recently changed. And they changed it so that now you weren't allowed any of these discrepancies. You had to have a 98% like correct rating. Like you couldn't ship out cards to them that were in the category that were the wrong condition or anything and be a part of their program. You had to have a 98% success rate. And that's really, 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 really high. And so most sellers immediately got letters from TCGplayer. They got dings, they got issues. And I almost within a day or two of seeing that change go live in my seller group, started seeing posts from different sellers saying, hey, I have issues here. I've conditioned all my cards for years. Your conditions have recently changed. All these things, issues surrounding all kinds of things with the issue. But anyway, now here we are, weeks and weeks later, after the program's rolled out, and they've kicked off hundreds of, maybe not hundreds. It seems like hundreds. Almost most of the sellers I've heard of have either willingly left or have been kicked off or in the process of being kicked off of that platform for discrepancies within their inventories. Now, one of our friends of the channel, which you referenced, is Mason Cardinal Gaming, CNA Gaming, great YouTuber, even better guy, owns a couple of LGSs in Kentucky. He does majority of his sales through the TCGplayer Direct program and has been doing it for, I think, years at this point, since he's been one of their longtime Direct, as far as I know, members. And so they've had a good relationship on there for a long time. They are really going through the ringer right now. If you have a chance, go watch their most recent series, Cardinal Gaming Bulking Up, because they're going through it right now. Through all this, he's explaining the whole system. And Mason's issues are something that they're not unique to Mason. You might watch his videos and you may come to the conclusion that he might have some employees that aren't doing their job. He even says that he recently changed employees from an old set to a new set. He thought the old set might have done something with the inventory, blah, 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 all this stuff. You may come to the conclusion that it is Mason's store, that there's some sort of big internal issue or a rat that's slinking around in there and messing up their inventory or something. I'm here to tell you, it is not. It is not Mason's store. He might have some sort of an issue. There might be a problem employee who's getting lazy and sorting things wrong. There's no way that that employee is getting to the dozens, if not hundreds of other stores and or sellers on TCGplayer who are having the same types of issues that are being touted. So, that being said, TCGplayer, you need to get your fucking act together and help your sellers out, because this is not acceptable. They have been literally breaking themselves trying to figure out what the issues are. And all TCGplayer is doing is the corporate shill, the corporate response, just booting people like with their algorithm straight up out of the program. So if you're a buyer on TCGplayer, have a little bit of leniency with some of these sellers right now. Obviously, I don't think it's the buyer's fault. I don't think it's the buyer's at all. This has something to do with the new system that they put into place at TCGplayer. It's not the buyers who are suddenly being really picky. But I have read the comments in Mason's videos, and I've seen some other comments in the TCG seller Discord that buyers get into, and they leave little comments. And it's interesting some of the takes people have in the comment section about what's going on with this stuff. And I will say that there are some stores who think that the only solution to this is that every store online should list everything at lower condition than what it really is. So, like, for example, if you have a bunch of near mint stuff, you should list everything at light play. So then your customer is happy they're getting it when it's like a better condition than what it says. And then you're never going to get dinged for sending a near mint card when it's a light play card. And in Pokemon, this is much, much more of an issue than in other card games, because people like to buy off of TCGplayer grade, and then if it's not the right condition, they'll try to get their money back from the sellers on TCG saying condition doesn't match, and then the seller gets dinged, and the buyer's like, what? The condition's not near mint. There's a little white dot in the corner. And then you're like, get fucked, bro. This is how it came out of the pack. And so it's bad in Pokemon, but I personally think that that's stupid. That's stupid. If you think that stores should have to list at light play in order to sell on the platform near mint cards, all of them should be light play, just in case there's a bad apple that's going to go in to protect yourself. Then you have to sell all your other cards at a lower price because they're not light play. They're near mint cards, but you're selling them at a lower price. So like you're being hamstrung by doing that as a store. So no, that's not an option. So please don't suggest that in the comments to these sellers, because it is not a helpful option to list your near mint cards at light play just to sort of satisfy the algorithm. But anyway, rant over. TCGplayer, do you think they're a hero or a hobby villain?
I will say, like, to your point about like being lenient with sellers, just a lot of people will just default to negative feedback, and I don't know, man. Like I'll buy stuff on TCGplayer, and sometimes it'll come in. Like I ordered some One Piece stuff, and it came in, and it was like, this is not near mint. And it wasn't even me being like super like, oh, this isn't gonna PSA 10. It was like, no, these cards have chunks out of them. Like this is not near mint. But I didn't default to like leave bad feedback. I just messaged the dude, and I was like, hey man, like these are. I would put this more in like the medium play to like light play category. Like, you know, could I return these or whatever? And usually people, especially if they're bigger stores, are pretty good about it. And as long as like, you know, you return the cards, the refund goes through and everything's kosher, like I don't really see a reason to go out of your way to leave negative feedback. And when you get to a scale like what Mason's doing, it's hard to not make mistakes. And I even saw somebody in the comments of one of his videos said that they bought a card that was from Direct and had it shipped to their Direct, and it was like it was labeled by TCGplayer Direct as light play, and then they bought it and moved it to their store and then resold the card, and then TCGplayer Direct dinged them because they considered it medium play, and it was like, you already rated the card light play, but now like you're dinging it. So there's always going to be stuff like that. I think like the bigger and bigger these companies get, the little guys just kind of get like squeezed out, and it's like, if you're not meeting these metrics, then people don't have time for you. I don't really sell a whole lot on TCGplayer because they don't do Japanese, but every once in a while, like I'll buy some stuff and it'll come, you know, like some English or whatever, and I'll have like extra cards, and you know, it's easy to just list on there because you don't have to take pictures, you just condition them and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's the one thing I will say though is like I would say the condition generally of TCGplayer near mint is lower than eBay near mint, just from what I've seen. And I think that that's because people that are like more player focused are like less picky about the condition. Maybe I don't know, but that's pretty much all I would have to add. Because again, like I don't have a lot of experience being like a big seller on there, so.
I personally would never sell on TCGplayer Pokemon cards, not like the types of cards I sell in person. I'd have to switch the types of cards I sell, because the only types of cards I've ever sold on TCGplayer are cards like bulk cards, and they're all for players. So like condition doesn't matter on like a 25-cent a non-hollow trainer card that I pulled out of bulk. So yeah, so I would have to just sell a totally different kind of card. I've never sold like cards that people would want to grade on TCGplayer, because I would be worried. I'd be worried about like picky buyers. I've heard horror stories in this group I'm in about how like Pokemon buyers are the worst on TCGplayer. So
yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, that's another thing too with the bulk. Like when you're going to sort through it, like if you're sorting through like Scarlet Violet era bulk or Sword and Shield era bulk, where the cards are like literally pennies a piece, it becomes tough to like when you're paying an employee to like, okay, like make sure these are really, you know what I mean? Like it's yeah, it's tough, man.
How is Mason getting dinged on how are any sellers for that case being dinged on like 25-cent cards that are like not being graded? They're being used like, does that mean that the customer is buying this 25-cent card from Direct is shipping out such a shitty copy of that card, the customer is then looking at it and be like, I was going to use this in my deck unsleeved, but I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't use this in any deck, not a garbage deck, much less my deck. So maybe the customer is saying something because of Direct, or like, wow, what's happening?
I don't know. Like conditioning is weird too. Like I hear a lot of people complain about like, and like I even have friends that will start separate eBays to sell raw on, because they're worried that like people will be critical of the near mint stuff because it's not gradable or whatever. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I just take good pictures and am honest. And if I think that it's like on the border, I'll just label it as light played. I've never had an issue. Like people still buy tons of raw cards off of me, even though they'll see the same card available graded. But when people message me and they're like, oh, I'm honest, I'm like, hey, there's like a white dot here, or like I didn't grade it because I thought it was OC or whatever. It's not like I'm lying, but I've never had an issue. Like I've never had somebody complain that, oh, you labeled this near mint, but it's actually light played. Like I just haven't had an issue. I just feel like, you know, taking pictures and if things are kind of like right on that line, just like label it as light play. It's worth it to take a few less dollars rather than like list it as near mint and then you have an unhappy customer and risk like bad feedback or whatever. So yeah, that's just my. But again, I'm not selling. Like, what does Mason have? Like 150,000 listings? Like, I don't.
No, it's like 50,000 now, but it's still a significant amount.
Yeah, I mean that's a ton of cards to deal with. So, and again, when they're like lower value, it's like time spent condition checking.
But it's not just Mason though. I do want to call that. Mason's being the loudest about it because he's the biggest YouTuber who's having this problem right now. But it's not just Mason. In this Facebook group I'm in, it's countless numbers of other sellers who say the same thing. there are a couple people who say they're having no issues, and since there are one or two people who are not having issues, they're very loud about the fact that they're not having issues. They're like, well, I'm not having problems, so you must be a jackass. That's also a really, really stale take. So if you're not having issues with your direct, just thank your lucky stars. You probably don't sell that much on there. That's really the biggest thing, is you probably just don't sell that much. So
yeah, I mean, I haven't been to Mason's store, but I like obviously like I watch pretty much all of his content, and like I've done business with him before, and it's always been super easy. Mason does not strike me as the kind of person that's like trying to get one over on anybody. So I think it's really just like growing pains because he's scaling so aggressively and exponentially so quickly. But I think he'll get it figured out. And like the thing about Mason is he's transparent about stuff. Like when he got shut down for the league play or whatever, like he'll just make a video about it and like he owns it. He doesn't make any excuses. You know what I mean? He'll say like, "Oh,
he's
like
just the biggest and loudest one in the space about it." That's the thing. Yeah, and he's transparent, like you said. He's not the only one though. There are other people having the same problems. That's
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like hopefully it gets figured out. I definitely don't think the platform is going anywhere, and I definitely don't think that people, especially like when you're doing such massive, because I know a lot of these stores that get these huge allocations, you're breaking down tins, you're breaking down blister products and all that stuff, and you've got these promo cards, and like you just don't have time to sit and list that stuff on eBay. Even if you can get like $1 more, $2 more on eBay, your time is better spent just like quantity listing that and conditioning it and listing it on TCGplayer, because they make your life so much easier. So yeah, I don't know, man. Hopefully they figure all that stuff out. But that's just what happens with scaling. Is it's not always a smooth ride. Sometimes it's a bumpy road. So
there's one more thing TCGplayer may be getting soon, since they were purchased by eBay. We may be seeing the eBay standard envelope tracking eventually make its way to TCGplayer.
That would be amazing. And just like the back end like integration of shipping in general, because anytime I sell cards on TCGplayer, I have to buy copy and paste the address and the name and then go to Pirate. Like there's no back end integration to buy the shipping label directly on TCGplayer. And it's like, again, like I'm not doing crazy orders on TCGplayer, but like for someone that's got like 50 orders a day, 100 orders a day, to spend that time copy and pasting address into pirate shit, like that seems like a huge L.
Most of the TCG orders are going untracked. They're going in a standard envelope, just 99-cent shipping, not tracked.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, like you have to, like maybe you have a template that works for your
you get one of these, and then the printout for TCGplayer puts the address right here when you fold it a certain way, and then you put the card in like over here.
Yeah.
Your stamp right there, and I get a stamp that I have my,
Okay. Yeah.
You just stamp it on there, and like, but I mean, like I said, you don't want to have to do all that crap. It's just a bunch of extra crap that someone like me doesn't mind. But
and I think that's why so many people are sending to direct too, is because they're just like, I don't want to deal with this. Like y'all take it, and I'll take whatever less percentage for you guys to fulfill it yourselves, and for me to not have to deal with it.
I have a new address now, so like I have to change my stamp. Actually, that's an old address on my stamp. Ironically,
Okay, but so yeah, man. Like I don't know, but we've been talking about this for a minute because eBay bought them a while ago, and it's taking so long for them to do any sort of integration.
They move at the snails at the pace of a boomer, which is like the eBay pace, because they do the same thing with eBay Live. Like eBay moves so freaking slow, and that's fine. It is what it is. But anyway, speaking of moving slow, this is a topic. Unless you have something else to say about eBay and or TCGplayer, I want to talk at least briefly about this whole situation.
Yeah. This is a spicy one.
Yeah, so as of last week, Metazoo Games, I think maybe a week and a half ago, I think it was last week though. Time moves fast in this hobby, but they put up an announcement on Twitter that they formally are bankrupt, and they've gone through the filings and everything, and now their assets have been assigned a debtor, and that debtor is now taking offers for the entirety of the IP and all of the assets of the IP, which is like the booster boxes and all the extra crap. And so that begs the question: how much you want? How much are you paying for Metazoo games, Nick? What's on the table here? Let me get my wallet out and see how much I've got to work with. We'll see what you got to work with, and maybe there's one or two people in the chat, and between the three of us, we can get Metazoo games. We can get this thing set straight.
As crazy as it is, I think that somebody might buy it.
Oh yeah, someone's gonna buy it for sure.
I think someone will buy it and try to revive it. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm.
Do you think we know personally the person who's going to buy it? That's what I want to know. Do you or I know personally the person who's going to buy it?
Maybe not personally, like have a personal relationship with them, but I think somebody that like we know, as far as like we're aware of in the hobby, might buy them. It just seems like an uphill battle to me, because it's like, dog, like first of all, to purchase the assets is going to be so expensive, but the cost to run it is so expensive that it's like.
So in addition to what you would get for Metazoo games, it comes with a little debt involved with it. There's
definitely don't like that. Definitely don't like that.
There is, I think, about $100,000 of debt assigned that you have to pay back. I think, I'm not sure, or no. Those.
Yeah, see, Dan thought he was going to buy the company for $100,000 and then just like rake it in. I'm like, bro, you're dusted.
So actually, I think I'm wrong about that. I think what it is not that there's debt attached to it. It's there's people who still are owed money by the company, by Metazoo, up to the point of like $100,000 worth of it, and there's like a $50,000 fee that's attached to holding the product that's left over at Golden, because I guess they had a lot of sealed product at Golden that they were like holding in their sealed, like their vault or whatever, and it's been racking up fees, and there's $50,000 of fees just to get what's owed back from Golden in addition. So there's a little bit of extra baggage in addition to the IP and what you get for Metazoo and attached to it. So that being said, like, what is it that would take, like, what would it take for theoretically you or me to want or think that it was like a company? I guess what I'm getting at is there anything that one could do with this IP? And if it was you, if there was something to do with it, what would your plans be per se? I'm curious, in like a theoretical situation.
Well, here's what's funny. Ever since eBay Vault died, if you go and check Dan's solds, it's pretty much entirely Metazoo. Like, all he sells is Metazoo at extremely deflated prices, but Dan is selling Metazoo like every day. Single cards, spell books, stuff like that. Again, dirt cheap. Everything is like dirt cheap. But the sales volume
Nick's watching you, Dan, just so you know.
It's kind of, well, I mean, you know, I'm fulfilling boxes through the eBay, so, but I'm just saying, like, this is all public information. Like, you can go check his solds and it'll pop up. But yeah, he sells like a good amount of Metazoo, but it's cheap to me. Like, yeah, just like there's better places I feel like you could stick your money. Like the cost to like buy it, get it running again, get a new set, get play testers, like get all the work that would go into it. I don't know if the juice would be worth the squeeze, mainly because like the PR is so destroyed that I'm not entirely convinced that they can kind of come back from that. Like, I don't know if it would be as strong as it was before. And like a lot of the artists that kind of made the game what it was, they kind of got shafted, right? So now you have to like go get different artists. That's going to maybe change the style of the art a little bit. I think a lot of players weren't made whole for their winnings or what. Like, again, this is all.
Was there anything about the Metazoo IP that you think had legs on it that actually would be worth buying?
I mean, it's selling. Like, it's like people are buying it for sure. Like, people are definitely still buying it. I just don't, compared to like other alternative TCGs, like I still don't think that it's Yeah, I don't think that it's great. Like I wouldn't personally be sinking my
So
money
like with
into
the
it.
IP, what are you buying? You're not buying like Mothman or Bigfoot. These are public
Yeah,
things that are public domain. That you're
no,
buying
like
the
you're mainly just
proprietary playing thing, like the way that the game plays, how it plays with like the meta, like the outs, like your color of your t-shirt matters when you're playing it, so you're buying into that, or like
yeah,
the
and then like
what?
all this stuff that's like Metazoo labeled or whatever. But
So
like
you
yeah,
get all the booster boxes that are left over. So
yeah.
really what you're buying is old product, old Kickstarter product and first edition cryptid and that kind of whatever is in Mike's basement still.
Yeah, I don't
Is
know,
there
like
anything proprietary about it is what I'm wondering, like that you're buying
no,
into like as an IP? Like why wouldn't you just start your own new Metazoo, take what you wanted from them and start a new one, because like what does Metazoo own that you couldn't recreate? They don't own any of their
yeah,
characters
yeah.
besides the Mike Waddell character or whatever proprietary characters
I mean, I'm
nobody even
also
knows.
like I wasn't super mad. Like there's some of the Metazoo art that I like, but like personally, I don't really care about cryptids. So like even trying to remake another cryptid TC, it's like it doesn't really hit for me.
I like cryptids, but I'm just wondering like why am I buying Metazoo? Why am I not just making Meta Who? You know what I mean? 2.0, because they're not around to sue me anyway. And even if they could, they didn't own anything about it. Their game wasn't that like unique. They just used magic type lands. They called them auras, but they're lands from Magic the Gathering. They literally have a creature type. It's just they use land, like it's a what's proprietary about it besides the fact that the color of what you're wearing affects the game, in which case nobody liked that about it.
Yeah, and like
So if you're listening to this and
yeah.
you're thinking about buying Metazoo, don't
Well,
do
okay.
it.
I want somebody to buy it just so I can see what happens.
what
Like that would be such an
what
interesting case study to
what
see
could
if
happen? Like they're gonna start a new TCG, then
I mean
why would they spend all this money to buy someone else's debt? They
out of
couldn't
the
use the old cards really.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that someone buys it and it is somewhat successful if it's under new. I mean I don't know, dude. Like I wouldn't put
That's
anything.
not gonna happen. I can't even entertain that idea. It
Yeah, I mean I don't know, man. Like
would
the
take a
market.
rename, a rebrand, a complete reskinning. And at which point, why are you paying X amount of money for all this baggage when you just start something newer and better? You know what I mean? It's not like they have a good name, a good brand associated with it that has like this pristine reputation. It's the opposite. I would understand buying something that kind of got left on the table that still had a good reputation. But
Yeah,
that
I mean they would almost like you said need to rebrand and like rerun like a new Kickstarter or like but then again like the consumer confidence has already been so destroyed in it that it's just kind of like yeah man I personally I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze but some like dummy rich dude might come in do the right thing. I mean I've seen CEOs turn around not TCG but I've seen CEOs come in and turn around companies in pretty big ways so. I don't know. It'll be interesting
So,
to
needless to say, Cardboard Hands probably isn't going to buy it. That was a total meme. But
not here. I mean, dude, honestly, like if it not me personally, but it's like if Flesh and Blood offered equity or something, I would probably think it was a smarter move to buy it because they've been more like steady. They maybe didn't have as big of a hype name, but like the game's more steady than Metazoo was, and like they actually follow through on like when they're going to release sets and stuff like that. So to me, if you were going to buy in like some way out there sort of alternative TCG, I would think buying into something like that would be a safer bet. Personally, I don't know.
yeah, I definitely think that there are better options out there than acquiring a whole bunch of someone else's debt and failed business, and then just trying to do something new. So if anyone's thinking, no one's watching this that's gonna buy the thing, but I have heard rumors like the Umu guy and Nick Strength in Pokemon, other YouTubers. He
Good
wants it.
luck. Yeah, again, I would like if
I don't know
someone
why
bought
he
it.
wants it, but he wants it.
It would make good content. It would
Yeah, I
make
mean
good
that would
content.
make a good couple of pieces of content for sure.
Yeah,
You could
but
really milk that out for a while. So yeah, maybe he could just get it for content and make his money back, and then he's got all that extra product because that's kind of like what he likes, and that would be a thing. It'd only take probably like 20 videos for him to make the amount of money that would be needed to generate off of those videos and buy it back after what he spent on it, because I'm sure it wouldn't cost more than 100 grand. Realistically, let's wrap this up with a nice little neat bow. What are you paying? What do you think the final, not what are you paying? What is someone else going to end up paying for Metazoo, do you think? I want a prediction from you, and I'll give a prediction. Then when it comes back around, we'll see what was real.
I haven't looked into the like details on the financials as far as like what exactly you're getting, what kind of debt there is.
Oh, don't worry. They just talk about the debt, but they don't talk about what actual assets they have. So there's not really a lot of in very much information for you. There's a lot of information about who they owe money to still, to the tone of, and Dan's on that list. So, you know, a lot of people are on that list.
I'm just gonna pick a random number and say like 500 grand or something. Like I don't know. I think five. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
My soul just left my body for a moment. I had to force it back down there. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say a lot less than that. I'm gonna say about 50 grand. I think someone's gonna end up paying 50 grand for it when it comes down to it, with the other assets that are attached, the debts attached to it, the other baggage you have to pay. I don't think someone's gonna pay more than 50 grand for it. And I think that'd be 50 grand that you wouldn't want to spend.
No, yeah, definitely not. All right, we have like two. What topic did you want to do next? You want to talk about
Let's do Terrestrial.
Okay.
Whoops, not that one.
This one. Yeah. Oh, wait.
Oh. Okay, there.
All right, there.
All right. Next topic here is going to be sort of the main topic that we're going to talk about today is the Terrestrial Festival, the next Evolving Skies. So, Nick, do you want to take this one? Did you see the announcement on this?
I saw the announcement. I didn't see if they leaked any cards yet, but I saw that there's it's going to be hat focused, Pokemon with the hats.
Hold on. Don't say that. Don't put any water on this fire quite yet. All right, we're trying to get excited for this. We don't need to be do what we always do. Okay, well, I'll leave it then. If you've just heard that much, I'll read the PokeBeach article, because just yesterday, 2 days ago actually, as of now, PokeBeach announced that they can confirm that the next set is going to, or that the high class set for December will be Terrestrial Festival, and it will feature Eevee and its evolutions as Pokemon EX. Presumably, they will be Terra Pokemon, which are the hat Pokemon. Releasing alongside this set will be products featuring Eevee and its evolutions. This includes card sleeves Eevee, collection file Eevee, rubber playmat Eevee, long card box Eevee collection, damage counter case Eevee All-Stars, carrying case Eevee collection, and plush deck box case Eevee. You see a theme there. So is this going to be our next Evolving Skies, next moon set to get excited about before Team Rocket? Or what do you think about all this?
I think it's cool that it's going to be a high class set, because that means it'll be fun to open. There's going to be like hits in every box. So that's kind of cool. There's like a black and white promo that has all the evolutions, or I guess all the Gen 1 and 2 evolutions on it, and it's a cool art style. I think like it would be sick if they had a chase card that had all the evolutions on one card, and I don't even know what they would call it. Like, maybe just call it like EV or
Party.
Or yeah, like festival, or maybe they just call it Terrestrial Festival, and
or just make it a trainer card and have all the EVs around on it with the trainer on it, but have it be the trainer's name, you know?
Yeah,
kind of like they did with the Morty card with the Gengar.
Yeah, so that would be cool. I don't know if it's going to be the next Evolving Skies, but like I mean, if Eevee Heroes is any indication, I'm excited for it as a flipper. Obviously, like the past few sets have been dark. The one coming up looks pretty dark. The one with like I don't know what it's even called. It's like Stellar Miracle or something like that. But it's I haven't looked at like all the leaks for that yet, but it doesn't look too hot so
Stellar
far.
Crown is our English one, and that's the next. It's like the shiny turtle set. It's not going to be a good set.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about it. What I think I mentioned it on here. I've mentioned it somewhere before, but like the turtle is in the show, and if they're like kind of copying what's going on in the show, there is a shining Rayquaza as like kind of a focal point in the show. So I'm thinking maybe in like the Paradise Dragona set, there's a shining Rayquaza chase card, which obviously people would go nuts for if they continue to follow like what's going on in the games in the show. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I'm very hyped for an EV set as a flipper. I'm gonna be, and as a wholesaler, like I'm very excited for the Rocket set. I'm very excited for the EV set. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Nothing but positivity from me personally.
Do you think there will be any sort of rarity in this set that will speak towards like the VMAX Chase alternate arts, really high price, like incredibly chaseable, the next Moonbryon kind of thing? Because we still, as of now, unless you're counting the Greninja, we don't have a chase card in the Scarlet and Violet era. There's nothing over $200 really.
Don't forget about Magikarp, but
$150, it's still not there.
Okay.
Greninja's more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just how much Pokemon wants to cook with it. Like with how crazy the arts have been this era, like if it's kind of just like T-ball at this point. Like literally all they have to do is step up to the plate and make contact, and like they're hitting a home run. So
we're getting Umbreon. We will get Umbreon in this set. So, I mean, is it Umbreon? Is that the Charizard, and that's what people are kind of holding their breath for? Or what if an Umbreon comes
out? Okay, here's the real stonker. In Gen 2, in the games, you go into that the dance studio and you battle the kimono ladies, who are like do you know what I'm talking about? Who have, and each one of them has like a different evolution. If they made the kimono ladies to where it was like a double, like it was evolution and waifu on the same, like good night, dog. That's what they need to do, is have like the kimono ladies in there. Each one of them has a different Pokemon, like a different evolution or whatever. That would go crazy. That would go nuts, dude. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that would be like a good reference back to the games too, because people are like nostalgic for that or what. I want to say that was in Crystal, or I guess like Gold and Silver. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, and I think that would be good. Even if we got that, I don't think it would be the Moonbryon. I don't think there's a rarity in Scarlet and Violet that will give us a card that's worth over like $200 or $300. Even if it's the most desirable Gen 2 waifu plus Umbreon plus Charizard.
Part of the thing with Evolving Skies, though, is there are so many chase cards. Like there's so many Alt-Art Vs and V Maxes that like pulling any specific one, it's already rare to get one, but then it's like extra rare because there's so many options that can fall in that chase card slot. So it would have to be a point to where it's like Japanese, like every time they split up, and again, this is going to be a high class set, so it's only going to be, but it'll probably be a specialty set in English. So those tend to have better pull rates than like mainline booster box sets in English. So it's probably going to be tough for something to go crazy stonk wise, but there's just a lot of cool stuff that they can do. I liked Evolving Skies. I thought it was cool. I really like a lot of those arts. But I think overall, like the quality of art that they're releasing in Scarlet and Violet era is better than Sword and Shield. I just think it's been less popular Pokemon, and I think if they apply the same sort of like SIR style to really popular Pokemon,
We've gotten a Charizard. We've gotten a Mew.
the Charizards were kind of the Mew is sick. Yeah, the Mew's sick. That's what I'm saying. Like people love that Mew. Like anytime they do a really popular Pokemon and it's not Boof, the Charizard
in Japanese, the Mew was like $100 when it was at its highest. You know what I mean?
I mean that's good though because the boxes were like $30, $25.
No, they weren't. No, those boxes were like $60 or $70 when they first came out. Those 151 box, 80.
Oh, you're talking about 150? I thought you were talking about the shiny treasure, the Bubble Mew.
No, that one though. Okay, so we have that one. That one's sort of a divisive card. People don't really like that set or that card. Really, I would argue. It's over $100 still, though, right?
I don't know about that. Like that was a pretty liquid card, and I think it's pretty.
Still is. No, it still is, but I feel like it's not like the most popular alternate art of all of them. You know, it's got that derpy art, and so it's sort of divisive. It's not like the Moonground that everyone loves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think that we've gotten popular Pokemon. I'm just trying to push back on this.
If a Greninja can be that expensive, but here's the other thing to the point about the Greninja too. It's like it's a popular Pokemon, but it's not like crazy popular. I think more of it is because like that's all there is to chase in the set. So like all the money is funneling towards like one card. But
it didn't start that way though. It's sort of cooking. Like the Greninja's cooking up. It wasn't like that in the beginning. So it's not like there wasn't anything else to chase. It's just for some reason people have now decided that's it. There's more going on than just that.
Yeah, but the only other chase card is what, like Carmine, and like waifus don't do that well in English.
And the ARs, like the EV.
Yeah, I guess the EV, but I don't know. I feel like that block was, or I guess that set was pretty.
That's how all of Scarlet and Violet has been. There's nothing that's rare. That's the problem. Is my point is that my argument is that it's not that we're not getting good Pokemon, and that once we get those good Pokemon, we'll have that next chase. I'm saying we're not going to get it in this era at all until they give a new chase, like a new type of rarity, which we haven't seen yet. It's the Gold Star thing that we've been talking about. It's like we've seen Charizard, you've seen Greninja, you've seen Mew, you've seen all these things pop up in this era. They've even made some of the chase cards like the Gengar, the Morty, hard to pull. You've even seen Gengar theoretically with the Morty's Gengar one. And like, even though it's a trainer, I think it counts as a Gengar. For the price is certainly like a Gengar.
Well, things have gotten a little bit harder to pull though, right? Because that's why
yeah, a little bit. That's why these last two sets have been ticking up with the alternate.
Yeah, because like Obsidian Flames was like too easy, and that's why like nothing has value in that, and there's like less chase.
They didn't have a new tier. They just shifted a little bit the pull rates, and that definitely has helped. But that, in combination with the shifting pull rates, it's also less people opening with Reckless Abandon. People are much more like reserved about their openings with these new sets. They're not as excited about them, to be frank. That's why. I mean, people are still opening them. They still like them. It's nothing like that was in the Sword and Shield era, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why prices are doing what they're doing. Is there's less cards out there. It's because less are being opened, and so there's less and they're harder to pull. So it's giving higher single prices. Also, the singles are in worse condition out of the pack. So then the graded prices are being pushed upwards, which sometimes makes the demand of the singles skyrocket because everyone sees, oh, it's a $600 graded Magikarp. I'm going to buy every one of them I see on TCGplayer because even if they're $100, that feels cheap if even one grades a 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know, man. All I know is that I mean, I
won't see anything expensive. That's what I'm trying to say. We're not going to see anything expensive until they change the rarity.
Yeah, but then like they do that, and then people are going to complain about like, oh, it's too hard to, you know what I mean? It's like I feel like they never win. But regardless, I feel like having an evolution themed set is going to do pretty well. And I don't know, I'm still, like I said, I'm still holding out hope for the Paradise Dragona. Like it could be Boof otherwise, but if they do a full art Shining Rayquaza, that would save the hobby. That would save the hobby. So that's my hope, is that they do that in that set. But
I mean, I think it would be awesome. I'm excited about the EV set, and I personally don't need those high tier rarities to exist in order to be like happy or anything. But people keep asking like when we're gonna get our next kind of crazy chase card. When's our Elsa gonna happen? When's our manga Luffy card gonna happen in Pokemon? And I just don't think it's going to. Unless they do throw a curveball and they throw us the bone that is the Gold Star chase rarity at the end of the series. If this is all we're getting, we're going to see a plateau at about $200. Now, Moonbryon wasn't always $600. It was $300 for the longest time when the set was out. So, like, if we get a $300 card when the set first comes out and it trickles up over time as, like, time goes by, popularity, it becomes, like, a bigger chase, I could see that being a success, but I still don't even see that happening. I think the highest we're going to get is going to be like $225 when the set first comes out, the Umbreon. And the Umbreon will be selling for $225. And then when people start opening it a bunch, they're going to realize it's not very rare. It's not like the Moonbryon. And it's going to come down to be like $125. And then if it gets really hard to grade, you're going to see it find a hard time price struggling because it's going to find its place, but it'll do what the Greninja is doing. It'll go high, it'll go low, it'll go middle, and then it'll find its way. But that's my prediction for the EV set. It's not going to be Evolving Skies. It can't be Evolving Skies with what we know now. Nothing can be Evolving Skies because in Evolving Skies, we had a higher rarity chase, a harder card to pull with a deeper card pool. So that's why I think it's just not possible. That's my thesis.
Well, and I mean, I think it has to be like if it's going to be an expensive card, it can't come out of a high class set or a specialty set in English. Like it has to come out of a booster box set because pull rates are always easy on high class and specialty sets. Like they're meant to be like opened in mass because it's like a good opening experience. The sets are usually a little bit smaller, so I can't see some crazy expensive card coming out when the pull rates on those are just going to be easier. But like, I mean, Walrus makes a good point. Why do we need something expensive? Hobby has never been healthier. I mean, it's a good point. Like I look
the hobby's not healthy. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's
I don't.
That you're getting the wrong thing. But people want chase cards that are expensive in these sets, and they oftentimes reference the Moonbryon. So often, when are we going to get the next Moonbryon is like a very common question, and I think it's a sentiment a lot of people are having. I agree with you though. I don't think that the market needs to have expensive chase cards to be strong. It's obviously very strong. But
I think the other TCGs like Lorcana is just like it's harder to get sealed product on. The pull rates for Lorcana, it's not like or at least I don't think they're like as crazy. Same thing with One Piece. Like I don't think they're as
I think One Piece has some tough pull rates, but Lorcana doesn't have that hard of pull rates. It's like 1 in 4 boxes.
Yeah,
it's crazy enchanted.
It's just because there's not as much product. Whereas like with Pokemon, like there's plenty of product in both languages, so it's difficult for a card to ever get past a certain point. And
I don't want to see super expensive, unpullable, unreachable serialized cards. Like I like cards to be readily available, but sort of mid to high level expensive, but not like way too expensive. So if we hit this mark where 50 to 200 is like as much as cards go between in modern sets, it's fine, but it's definitely moving out of an era. It's an end of an era, even if that's the case. If that's like the direction they're moving, that is a decidedly different direction than what they were in previous. And whether that's a good thing or bad thing is for the comments to decide, but I definitely think it's interesting to discuss.
I think if Paradise Dragona is not a specialty set in English and it's a mainline and they do put a Shining Rayquaza in it, I could see that being like a $300 card, maybe raw potentially. Doc, like a full art Shining Rayquaza, like
if it was an alternate art and everything, like an SLR
like
kind of thing.
That I don't know. Like I could see that. I could see that happening. Especially
300, maybe not 200. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, 200 gotta you think it would gotta be 200, but like maybe 3 because to your point about the Moonbryon too, like Rayquaza initially was more expensive than the Umbreon, so like and Rayquaza doesn't get a lot of cards in general. You know what I mean? Like evolutions, I would say, are used a lot more than like Rayquaza is, and Rayquaza is a really popular Pokemon, so I don't know. I think there would be a lot of demand for that, especially if the rest of the set is like dragon Pokemon that nobody really rocks with. Like if they put like Drampa and like all those other, weird later dragon Pokemon in it, like I could see all the money just like funneling directly into Rayquaza. So I don't know. Like we'll see what happens. But all right, what you wanna hop into the
All right.
Lion's Den with the last topic?
Yes, just a side note though. Do you know how to do polls? Can we poll the chat on this? Is there a
Yeah,
way to
yeah.
do
You
that?
go to there should be like a little plus button like on YouTube or whatever, and you go
Okay,
down
yeah.
and it should say like add poll, and then you type in like what you want for the poll. You see it?
Wait, what? No, I don't see that.
It's at the bottom next to like where it says chat on the live chat, like where you would
Okay,
type
can
in.
you make a poll for me while I go on a little rant because I still don't see it? Will you do a poll and see it?
I can't because it's on your YouTube.
Okay, so where does it say it on mine then? I'm gonna sorry chat where I'm gonna do this.
So like at the very bottom where you would type in to the chat, there should be like a little thing off to the side that's like a plus button. I'm pretty sure, and then it should like you should be able. It should say like add a poll or something.
I'm tripping. I don't see it. I'm looking at where it's not on my StreamYard.
No, it's on YouTube. Like
that's why I'm not on YouTube right now.
Yeah. You have to be like logged into the YouTube.
Okay, well, we're not going to do a poll then, but
okay.
I'm not going to sign into YouTube just for this. But I have a little rant to go on about donut shops. It irks me that donut shops close super early and are only open for breakfast when I believe that a donut shop is by definition a dessert place, not a goddamn breakfast joint. Why is it in America that we insist on treating donuts and cereal like they're breakfast? What planet are we living on that we think that these sugary, like these candies and these dessert baked goods are what we should be eating first thing when we wake up in the morning? To the detriment of when I really want a donut later on in the evening after I've had dinner, and I'm thinking, man, you know what sounds good right now? Not a cupcake, not a cake or like some sort of traditional ice cream or dessert you would eat at night. I want a damn donut, but I can't get one anywhere. I can only get stale donuts or baked the morning, the day before that morning that are all like left out on the counter. And I want a fresh donut. So like, I want to know how many more of you guys are mad that donut shops aren't A, 24 hours, open 24 hours, or B, they should be dessert, not breakfast focused. And personally, I think if you're eating donuts for breakfast, like that's wild because like I can eat fruit when I wake up in the morning because that's like it's really sweet and it's fruity and delicious. I could eat that. It's light, but like eating just a bowl of cereal or like a cinnamon roll or a donut, like dude, I'm gonna feel so heavy and gross the rest of the day. Like I need that for later on. So like I'm just mad at donut shops and I'm tired. I feel like I'm not heard. And I want other people to hear me. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but like I need donut shops to not be breakfast joints. They need to start shifting. And I get it takes a long time to make donuts. I know you have to like knead them and it takes a long time to rise. So like just shift your business to being evening instead of morning food. I promise all the other donut shops that are going to be competing, you're going to be the only one open. It's going to be way better. Yeah, I
feel like
yeah.
Let me check Krispy. Like, doesn't Krispy Kreme stay open a little bit later?
Krispy Kreme is not the ideal donut. Like, I don't want to use them as the model donut society for that donuts should be like looking to emulate.
They close at 10 p.m. So, but I feel like you're missing. To me, like I would imagine a lot of people want donuts as like drunchies. So you would think that like donut shops would be open like late or
that's what I'm saying. Yes, I was in the city. I was in the city and I was walking. It was like 9 o'clock and it was at nighttime and I was walking by all these closed donut shops. I was just thinking like, dude, there's like a music venue down the street here. Like people just be walking by getting donuts after the show. Like screw getting a beer. I want donuts after a freaking music show. So I don't know, man. I feel like I don't feel like I'm alone in this, but I think that donuts should be a dessert, not a breakfast. And I think that cereal is not a breakfast either. And I will die on this hill. I eat cereal at night way more than I eat it in the morning. Like, I have cereal in my cabinet. I can't remember the last time I had it for breakfast. Like,
Yeah, I mean, cereal is straight carb, sugar, and milk. So like, yeah, it's definitely not the ideal breakfast. As far as donuts go, I'll allow it. Most places around here, like especially the smaller shops, they make X amount per day, and then when they sell out, they just close. So a lot of them don't even have like actual hardline hours. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting if there's probably in LA, there's probably some like late night trendy donut shop that's open or something that you can go in and it's open to
you
like
could charge more. You could definitely charge more as a late night trendy donut shop for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen not so much with sweets, but like when you go to like a concert or you go to an event or something, like a lot of the time a food truck will pull up just because they know the event is happening and people are going to come out of the event. They're probably hammered. They want some late night food or whatever. And the food trucks do really well. Like they make a lot of money. So if you're doing that with donuts, like you'd probably do pretty well. So
Okay, so down in the comments, before we get to our next topic, I want you to go quickly because you guys are probably listening from all over. But I just went to a local concert, right? I went to the San Francisco, I went to the Masonic, and we went and saw Say Anything for a little emo night return. You know, that was cool. Seeing all the 30-somethings get tired at 9 o'clock. I was there sitting there trying to like...
Say Anything is correct. Hold on, I gotta look.
Did you not know who they are? They're from like the early 2000s. They still make music,
The name sounds familiar. I'm just trying to remember like what.
Anyway, I want to know down in the comments what your local concert or local big city vending cart of choice, like what is the ones that are prevalent near you? Because near me, after every big event and after every concert, after every ball game or anything, you just go out on the street and all these carts are out and they're all selling Sonora hot dogs. A Sonora dog is basically a hot dog wrapped in bacon that's grilled on a griddle with like grilled onions and peppers, and you have a bunch of vendors out there just hawking these dogs. And so that's the only thing that they sell is these hot dogs wrapped in bacon. But I know that's like a California thing. So I want to know who or what type of vendors are near you guys in your local regional, like after you go to a basketball game or a hockey game, like what's out on the curb? What are they selling? Tell me down in the comments. Or if you're here right now, tell me what your local like vendors, your food cart vendors sell mostly. This is just recently that started happening for us. Over the last few years is when those started popping up. But yeah, I want to know some of the cool regional food delicacies you guys have.
So real quick to your point about hot dogs, when my girlfriend and I were in Hawaii, we went to this place. I think it was called Kona Dog or something, but it was like different. It was like a baguette kind of, but they like hollowed it out.
Ooh.
And then they put the hot dog in there and then they would pump like sauces or whatever. Like there was like you would get like a relish, but it was like a spicy fruit relish. And then
Ooh.
I think there was like some hot sauce or something, but it's good. And it's not like as messy because it's like more contained or whatever, and there was like a line around the thing, but yeah, those were popping for sure.
Is there a better eating food than a hot dog? Like most foods you have to stop to take a bite of and eat, but like a hot dog is like the perfect like walking and eating while you're walking kind of food. That it's such a funny thing because I hate hot dogs. But I will be the first one to tell you, it is very convenient, like walking and eating kind of food sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, burgers are definitely not a walking food, so.
You gotta sit down. You're gonna get that all over you can't do that. You gotta sit down with that.
Yeah, maybe like a pocket or something, like a corn dog or something like that, or like a hot pocket type deal. Yeah, walking tacos are good.
You got a fork with that, like the walking taco. You still got a fork, and it's like you gotta look at. It's Like a hot dog is like.
Yeah, I'm not a huge hot dog guy either, but I know Costco is still printing off hot dogs. So to this day,
As far as I know, they lose money on their hot dog deal. Same thing with their chicken thing. It's like they lose money on that, but they make money on other things, like some sort of a weird loop thing.
Yeah.
We just need a Costco sponsorship at this point. We talk so much about them. Okay. Anyway, the last little piece of this this talk, since we've all decided that I'm crazy and that donuts should be eaten in the morning and that it's a labor thing, whatever, I do feel crazy. We're going to move on. One Piece investors. How y'all doing? You all right? You doing good? Let's pull up something. Here. I did recently hear that there is a One Piece reprint that just happened, and so I wanted to kind of go through and see what One Piece was doing right now. So I know that I don't know anything about One Piece or whatever, but I do know about Bandai, and Bandai is a company that sort of prints and owns and runs a whole One Piece shebang. So I've always long since been worried about their reprint schedule. And I just wanted to kind of check in on One Piece boxes right now. Now, we're not going to look at the errata boxes because errata boxes, I don't know. They're not on this list right now. Sorry, my TCG player is just taking forever.
Wonderful site.
Excuse me. Must be everyone else checking these One Piece prices right now, too. We're going to look at some charts here. So this is the first set, One Piece Romance Dawn. I would argue that $260 is still pretty strong for a booster box. And so it did just drop from about $450, to now it's like $260. And I would argue that's still pretty strong at $260. We're getting some sales from today. So there is sales data on it. Let's keep looking.
Low list, when I checked that one, low list was $250 with like $5 shipping.
Okay, Paramount Wars, box number 2. This one looking like the same thing, same sort of trend there. Got a couple sales from today. It is now at trending at like 175. It was at 360. No, is it 393? Okay, so that one dipped quite a bit. Number 2. This one's holding pretty strong though. The 5th set. So this is a set with the manga Luffy. This one doesn't look so bad. Did this one get a reprint like the others did?
I don't know, but I know that I'm pretty sure that's the most popular set.
No, this one didn't get a reprint as far as now. One Piece collectors. Now, take a moment before you're typing and stop typing vigorously. Tell me, did they only reprint 1 through 4? So 5 didn't get a reprint, neither did 6, and that's 5.
No,
right?
Because when I looked, like the other boxes, like the newer boxes, go back to OPO5 really quick and look at the 6 month. Yeah, see, like that's the newer set, and that one dropped off too.
This is the one with Zoro, so this one has some popular characters. Okay, so looks like One Piece. The boxes are still selling at higher than MSRP. So in some cases,
go back to OPO5 really quick and look at the 6 month chart and see what that looks like. Click 6 months. All right, well, it hit a bottom and then it bounced back up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this set has that $3,000 manga chase card in it. So this is the main chase card in set cards from One Piece. This card's recently done a little bit of a bounce. It was almost 4,000. Now you can get it you can get one for 2,200 right now. That's a bit of a steal. It's like $700 less than the second listing on there. So it seems like these cards. Is
it Japanese though? I think it said Japanese. Did it? Or am I tripping?
No, that's English.
Oh, okay.
It's even got a picture.
What's the back?
Oh, it's got a dent. That's why. Look. Yeah, it's got a dent.
Listed it near mint.
Yikes. So it's still a $3,000 card though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I definitely don't think it's like a issue with the popularity of the IP. It's just Bandai doing what Bandai does, and it's the same thing with DBZ. Like, DBZ is massively famous IP, and they tanked super. So I don't think like the game's gonna die or anything. But if you I don't know though, man. Like, it's if you were buying those boxes and you were up crazy on it, like, I guess it's kind of on you for not selling a little bit too, because it's like your gains were crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see. I don't know enough about it to be completely honest. Like, I don't even really do much with it in Japanese either. But yeah, I can't trust Bandai, and like they're doing the new like the Dragon Ball Fusion World, and I think the cards are really cool. But like yeah, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried about that too. Like, I just think that they see these boxes going for crazy prices. They know they're leaving money on the table. They haven't gotten reprints, and they're like, all right, like, we're gonna dump more products. So yeah, I don't know. For me personally, like, it's just, and it's different too, because like the dynamic with Pokemon is it starts out the gate really cheap as of right now, and it sells for basically distributor pricing. That feels a lot safer than buying boxes that come out like $80, 100. It doesn't matter how popular the IP is. Like, none of that shit matters. It's the yeah. I mean, if you're not pricing in the potential possibility of reprints, like, that's just not smart. I guess, like, it's
Here's the
yeah.
thing: you cannot invest in Bandai card games. You can't invest in them. You can only play them and interact with them as like a hobby. And so I see in the comments someone is asking when's a good time to buy into One Piece. They might be joking a little bit, but I would argue that the best time to buy into One Piece would be right now. And I would also argue the worst time to buy into One Piece is right now. It just depends on what your perspective is on it. Personally, I think that if you love the game is stronger than ever right now. And it's probably more of a reason than ever to interact and start getting involved and playing the game if it's something you're actually genuinely interested in. But if you're looking to like invest in something, you're like, I need something to dump my money in, something that I don't want to lose a ton of money in, maybe I'll gain a bunch of money. If you're asking if One Piece is that, like right now, they just took a 50% price cut, 40%, 40 to 50% price cut in a matter of overnight, basically, just because one single reprint happened. If that doesn't scream volatility to you, I don't know what does. As well as like the really high price of a lot of these chase cards, there's not a ton of sales on them. There's some sales back and forth and trades and things, but like they're not that liquid. And when you get stuck with a $10,000 manga PSA 10 card, and you don't truly really love that thing, like $10,000 love that thing, and you have to sell that
Is
to
that
the
what the Luffy is selling for in PSA 10?
I,
10,000?
I know that they have that some cards have sold for like 10 grand manga cards in the past. I don't know if it's that card or championship cards or like whatever it is, but like I know there are cards that out there in One Piece that are comping at 10K or above. And like if you have one of those cards, it may be hard to find the next person to move it along to. That's all I'm saying. And like if that's all you're in it for is just for the fun and you don't need it as an investment, that's totally different than like if you're investing and you need to be liquid. So like I'd be very worried right now about investing in One Piece. I'd be very comfortable buying it to buy if I liked it because I like the IP. So just two different thought processes. I think it's fine to buy as a hobby. It's actually great right now. And I would be loving it if I was into the hobby of it. But like if I was investing, I'd be really, really anxious. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, that's I don't know. Like, I'm looking right now. I mean, I'm sure these are overinflated, but I'm looking at like championship top prize Luffy, and there's one listed for like 38 grand. And yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I think you can believe in the IP. I think that the card game can be really strong, but I think a lot of this stuff is a little bit over its skis. I think it's just like really hot. I mean, even I don't want to say like the D23, the Lorcana stuff, like that's come down a little bit too, right? Hasn't it,
Still
from the
really
high?
high though. Over 1,000 each, I think.
Yeah, but they used to be like 5,000, right? Like 3 to
Yeah,
5,000.
the Mickey. I think the Mickey was like 3 to 4, and then I think like the Maleficent was really high too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a risk reward thing. Like, I think the more you go outside of Pokemon, like you're going farther out on the risk reward curve. Like, I mean, personally, like I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'd be making plays on the singles. Like, I'm sure there's still plenty of money to be made, buying the singles, flipping the singles, grading them, whatever. But like buying the sealed product scares me a little bit. Like, but again, like I don't really have as much experience with it. I think like you're going to be a lot safer, to your point about volatility. I think you're going to be a lot safer buying like some Scarlet Violet era booster box for 85, $90 than even buying a One Piece box for 250. Like, I don't. Yeah, man, I don't. But I've seen Dragon Ball Super eat doo doo too, so like that kind of freaks me out a little bit.
I mean, they made a whole new game. Dragon Ball Super was doing great. They were cooking, and then the power level of their game, they broke the game. So it was a really competitive game for a while. There was a lot of players that played it, and they just kept on remaking certain cards and breaking it, bring it to the next power level, the next power level, the next power level, to the point where they had to basically scrap the whole game and start from scratch. Not because the IP was used up or people were done with it, but because they could not keep on making the game work the way that it was going. It shows a lack of foresight in the game design and a lack of thought or understanding about how a trading card game works. So like that alone, I'm out. Like that right there, and they're making a new game now because they just had to start over. So like
it's
I
cool too.
love
Like,
Dragon Ball, but
yeah, like
I'm out.
the Dragon Ball Fusion world. Like, I like the cards a lot. Like, I think they look really cool. And again, like, huge DBZ guy, but I don't really want to mess with it because I don't think liquidity is there. And yeah, which sucks because like I like it a lot. The one thing I will say is when Union Arena comes out, I probably will be dusted enough to buy buy some of the cards from the anime sets that I like the Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not gonna buy the boxes, but I will probably try to make some plays on the like the Jujutsu Kaisen and the Demon Slayer stuff, just because I really like those animes and I think it would be kind of fun. But I'm sure Bandai will do the same thing to Union Arena that they've done to these other games. So it's, again, I don't think One Piece is dying at all. Like, I don't think One Piece is necessarily headed the same way as like Dragon Ball Super, but I
Give it
also don't
4
think
more sets, Nick. Give it 4 more sets. I promise you, it doesn't take that long.
4 more sets.
It really doesn't take that long. Look how fast Dragon Ball Super died. Like you had that Realm of the Gods set that came out and people were crazy about. Not 2 more sets and the game was dead. It doesn't take that long, man. Look at Metazoo. Metazoo had that war set that came out that was fantastic. And then immediately after war, they bankrupt, shut down shop. It doesn't take as long as people think for these games to go under. People think, oh, the writing's on the wall. You'll see it in 1,000. You can get out plenty of time. Like you have the right. All these YouTubers be calling about it. No, you won't have that much time. By the time it's time to get out, it's too late. Everyone's trying to get out. So like these things are not as safe as like the last few years of YouTube would make it seem if you were to on like Pokemon investment YouTube. And I just also want to bring to the attention, I don't count us as a Pokemon investing podcast. I count us as a Pokemon entertainment podcast. I don't know if we've been giving the wrong idea, but that's how I've always viewed it. Are we a Pokemon investing podcast? Like, tell me, you can be honest, but I always viewed us as a not.
In investing, flipping. Okay, so I pulled up PW, and again, this is PWCC, so the numbers might be a little different on eBay, but like, so I sorted highest to lowest. You know the signature cards in Dragon Ball Super, the ones with like the voice actor signatures on them.
Those are the ones I was thinking about for Dragon Ball Super. I love those cards. Those are like the best
me
cards.
Too. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, so again, like this is like peak boom, but like the Son Goku one, which I'm pretty sure that's the most expensive one. Okay, so on what is that? April 25th of 2021, the highest recorded sale for that card on PWCC was $3,500 in a PSA 10. Fast forward to let's see. Is there any 2023s? Yeah, okay, so here's I don't think there's any 2024 sales on PWCC, but one sold February of 2023 for $1,110. So basically like lost 70% of its value. And like I think that's a really cool card. That set is really old. That's like a 2018 Dragon Ball Super set. So like I don't know. Like I feel like it'll probably be the exact same thing with the One Piece cards. I mean, the Dragon Ball Super stuff I'm pretty sure was hard to pull. I think the One Piece stuff is like fairly hard to pull. So yeah, man. I just feel like that's probably
Like,
going to be.
are people going to be talking about One Piece in 10 years from now? You know what I mean?
Well, the one thing too is like, and Squeaks and Jake Smith and people that like really watch the show would know more, but I'm pretty sure like they're coming to the end of the story, whereas like Pokemon is continually. So like, are they going to make like a new one again? Like, there's still the Netflix show, like the live action. I know they're going to do more seasons of that, but like, does the ending of the show does that affect the longevity of it at all? Because yeah, I don't know, man. Like I just feel like before the card game came out, I know people are like, "Oh, it's the number one selling manga of all time." It's like, yeah, but there's like 1,000 plus episodes. Like there's like of course it's gonna be. So I don't really remember people talking about One Piece as much in the zeitgeist. Like
it was always around. Like it was always that, because I had started watching it long before it became like popular in the. I had already made like, my judgment on it, you know?
Yeah, like even in Japan, to put it into perspective, when I was like wailing out on Cardos boxes, One Piece was cheap. Like Dragon Ball Z was way more expensive than the One Piece stuff. Like One Piece stuff was cheap for a long time, and then it like shot up when the TCG came out, but it wasn't even up there with Dragon Ball Z. Like that stuff sat and was
and
very
now Dragon
available.
Ball Z is cheap, so it's interesting.
Well, I'm talking about the Cardos. I'm talking about like the vintage Cardos.
Oh, okay.
But like the Dragon Ball Z stuff is still like much more expensive. And again, like even in Japan, the One Piece stuff sat. So I don't know enough about it. Again, I'm not hating on it. Shug Nasty says Retro avoided the question. I don't know what question I avoided. Maybe you could drop it in chat. But yeah, I mean, like a $3,000 chase card 2 years from now, probably going to be like $1,000. I mean, I would expect like, and again, like the game could still be strong, and that could still happen. Like One Piece could still be going.
I don't think so. I don't think the game will be strong, or that will happen though. I think 4 sets is all they got. That's all they got in them, and that's generous.
All right, we'll mark it from here.
That's set 11, I think. No, they're on set 9, so that's set 13 is what I'm saying. Is okay, that'll be the last main.
So OPO 13 will be their last set.
Probably, yeah. That's what that's a timeline. That's about a year timeline, right? They do every 3 months.
I don't know the release date for One Piece, but like that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I think they got a little more juice in them than that, but
that's about 3 years. That's about a 3-year timeline for a TCG. That's about the length of their TCG. I feel like that's a majority. That's how long they get usually before they mess it up.
Yeah. We'll see.
They don't have a good track record, man. It's like one of those things. It's a very clear thing. You can look back at these companies' track records, and it's like it's very cut and dry what they do. And Bandai is very, very consistent. They like to ruin their card games after a certain amount of time. They seem to like it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I
want to know what kept them from doing what we talked about before the podcast. What kept them from not just leaving it, literally leaving the first 4 to 6 sets, letting them cook, not reprinting at all, literally just reprinting the newer sets that come out and printing a little more each set so that they can meet the demand, letting those new sets cook as they do, and then just letting people get the cards as they go up in price. And then if it gets too expensive and you want to make your players happy and your player base, because they're saying, rawr, 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 we need stuff from Romance Dawn, and those boxes are $500 a box. We're not going to open a $500 box to get playable cards. You say, as Bandai, you have the power to say, well, little Timmy, look here. We got a new set, One Piece Romance Dawn 2. And you put an OP2 on the symbol set. You do all the same artwork. You do all the same cards, the best cards from the set. And you just do what Pokemon did with base set 2. And you give a reprint set in there after like 8 sets go on. And you say, okay, you have your collector sets from the original that everyone loves that are going crazy. You protect the value of those, your investors, so that they feel good about your game. So then you don't have people like me on the internet saying Bandai likes to ruin their own card games, because you can TM that. The old card shop likes to say Bandai loves ruining their own card games, because they do. But you wouldn't have me saying that if they just let their games cook a little bit. But they're not.
It's just money, man. It's just money. They see a box selling for $450. They haven't reprinted it, and they're like, all right, like we know if we drop this, we're gonna sell out. So it's just a money thing.
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
It'll be interesting to see by Christmas, like where everything's at. I think they have more juice in them. I don't think it's quite to the level that Dragon Ball Super is at, but I think I also don't know anything about the playability, so I don't know if there's like power creep issues or meta stuff going on. But I don't know. I feel like it's still. I think next year we still have Lorcana, we still have One Piece, and then we still have the big 3.
I think we have Lorcana for sure. I think they've got more than they might have 2 years left in them before I have to reevaluate them.
I feel like Lorcana hasn't even really started cooking yet. Like,
that's what I mean. They have a little longer before I'm going to put the death, like the date of death on their expiration date. I'm comfortable with the expiration date 4 sets from now with One Piece. Like, very comfortable.
I think Star Wars dies before One Piece does.
No way, bro. No
really?
way. That set's got at least 2 years. So most TCGs have 2 years in them. To get past the 2-year mark, that's when they start failing. That's why now One Piece is getting into the 2-year mark. And it's that 2 to 3 year, you're going to see the people who invest in One Piece start losing interest. Once that interest is lost, the company who makes it is going to slow down the printing. Once they slow down the printing, they're going to slow down the design, and they're just going to, it's either going to stop printing, or they're going to shut down shop, or they're going to keep printing, and it's just going to be, it's literally going to be a non-existent game that just keeps on running. So maybe I'll be wrong, but there'll just be nobody talking about it. Kind of like the new Dragon Ball Super, you know? Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Dan can still sell Metazoo, I'm pretty sure that like One Piece is going to be okay, but
if they stop, I don't know if that's calling that okay. Like a game going at Metazoo's not okay, bro. Just because Dan sells Metazoo still does not mean it's okay. By no means are Metazoo investors okay, or people who are buying Metazoo okay. I don't know what's going on with them. I won't comment on the people buying Metazoo. They're probably fine, but like, I don't know what's going on with that. But let's not say that they're okay.
Yeah, well, I know I watched that Pokemon Wonder with Ivy, and she said that like Lorcana is her #1 seller at her store. Like it sells out and stuff like that. So I think, I don't know, man. Like, but again, like Lorcana is still doing half arts. I mean, I know they have some full art promo, but like they haven't really like. There's so much that they can do.
There's so much room to cook with Lorcana.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room to grow. Like I've seen all the stuff. They're doing serialized cards in One Piece already. They're doing crazy. Like,
are they?
But
it's like just event cards, right?
Yeah,
like
the event cards are serialized, right? And numbered.
I don't. Again, like I'm not super knowledgeable on.
They're
I've only
doing
done
like
like a little
uncut
bit.
sheets as prizes. They're pulling out all the stops for like they're doing everything a TCG can do to make its patrons happy, which is great. You want to see that, but some might wonder if it's too much.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think if we're still in the market that we're in, because again, like the boxes did fall off, but like they're still
hot. They're
yeah,
really
like they're
expensive.
still high. Like
260 is not cheap for a box, man. That's
yeah,
really strong.
yeah. So I don't know, man. Like it's tough to see, but that's why, like, for the most part, dog, like I'm sticking with Pokemon. Like if I see like a Lorcana Enchanted at a show or a One Piece chase card or whatever, and it looks like it's gradable, like yeah, I'll pick it up. But I don't know, man.
I
Like
wouldn't.
there's so much opportunity in Pokemon that
I'd be
it's
careful with those enchanteds when you see them, especially not knowing as much as you do about them. They're very, very easily counterfeited. I was trying to avoid talking about it a lot on the podcast, but because I didn't want it to like be a thing. But the Lorcana and One Piece cards, One Piece I'm not as familiar with, but Lorcana is very, very easy to counterfeit, and they're very good counterfeits out there that even professionals like myself, I'm very uncomfortable buying raw enchanteds. Just from people sight unseen at like a show, someone who walks up to me who I'm never going to see again. Like after they walk away, after they sold me their counterfeit Wish version of the enchanted card, that when you put it next to one, like they're very hard to tell. This is a counterfeit card. I bought one just to look to see if I could tell the difference. This I could not tell based on this. I took it to a show to look at a real one from a real shop. I couldn't tell the difference from it, and if I couldn't tell the difference, someone else couldn't either. So be really careful buying those if they're ungraded.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be buying graded, but yeah, dog, like I don't know. Personally, I'm just sticking to Pokemon. I wish Dragon Ball Z was more liquid and had more opportunity, because I love Dragon Ball Z and I wish I could do more with it. But again, like when Union Arena comes out, I'll probably dabble a little bit in that and have some fun there outside, because like I don't know, for me Pokemon gets boring. Like I don't. It's cool. Like I get excited when the new sets come out and I like looking at the new arts, but I don't have any Pokemon that I'm interested in holding. Like I don't feel any sorts of urgency to like get any Pokemon cards at all. Like I mean, the only thing I really hold on to is like this kind of stuff, like the vintage DBZ stuff, anyways. And this stuff is actually appreciated in value, and I've just watched Pokemon do nothing but go down outside of like some of the modern stuff. But yeah, like most of my business is Pokemon, but it's not like my true love. I guess it's whatever to me. But it's the most liquid, it's the most safe, so I can't
I
really.
like Pokemon better than I like these other things still. Like I may like some of the animes that I watch and stuff, but I'm perfectly okay with them having card games that aren't good, that I don't want anything to deal with. I like Pokemon so much more, especially after dealing with other card games throughout the years that have come and gone. Some that are still here that I just stopped interacting with, that I now still interact with Pokemon. I really appreciate Pokemon now more. It's so crazy because like I thought when I walked away from Pokemon when I was like a young, teenager to 20 something, that I would be walking away for good. But like coming back to it and then coming back to some of the other things that I would have thought that I would have come back to and then had more likelihood to stay with. There's so much about Pokemon that I feel thankful for, that I feel like they've really curated their brand, and they've really shepherded it to a point where the success it's seeing is very warranted, and it's obvious, and it makes really bullish YouTube channels on Pokemon on YouTube almost feel like, even though they're ridiculous, it feels a little bit less ridiculous than some of those other bullish channels on other card games. So like I do think Pokemon is in a league of its own. And I do want to shout out Pokemon for that. Like, I think they're just doing a phenomenal job. And I am more than happy to stay in Pokemon comfortably and watch some of these other TCGs kind of come and go and do their little waves and maybe not even deal in them, because I feel so comfortable in Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very, very, very confident. It's just, I feel less. Maybe it's just because it's like easier to get, and I've seen things like I look at a lot of these like dead TCGs or just older stuff, and I actually feel like, oh, if I don't buy this, or if this card may never be graded in this grade ever again. I don't feel like that about anything in Pokemon at all, and so I think it's more of like a like other things have more chase to me, but that's not to say I don't like Pokemon. Like I still love the art from Pokemon. Like yeah, I mean I'm happy to be here. It's just like what interests me more is like I'm not like I'd much rather spend time looking for some like dead TCG Bandai CCG Dragon Ball Z shit from 2008 than like going and reading an E4 article about some stupid WotC. Like I don't care. Like I can't be bothered. Like it doesn't interest me. I don't care.
See,
Like
and that's where we're different. That's where you and I are definitely different.
Yeah, like I just like
a $1,000 Naruto card from like the Naruto CCG that's like really really rare and a BGS like 9 or 8.5. It's like the top pop, a Madara or a Sasuke or whatever, a really cool SIR. I don't know anything about the IP, but I mean about the card game, but I know how rare those dead card game secret rares from especially the English Naruto like weird sets are. I know how valuable those can be and how objectively rare they are. But if you were to ask me if I'd rather have a $2,000 or $3,000 card like that, or a $2,000 or $3,000 like Pokemon card equivalent, that's like historic for the hobby, and even though it's like Gold Star Kyogre or something, it's like nobody knows who Kyogre is outside of the Pokemon hobby, and especially outside of the card hobby. There's not very many Kyogre lovers. I know one, but that's it. But like, I would rather have that Pokemon card, that Kyogre, than that Sasuke 8.5 BGS, from 2002 of the dead card game that I know is only so rare because it wasn't popular. You know what I mean? So I still feel like I would take that WotC, that old Gold Star card, that set card that's really expensive in a PSA 10 over the objectively rarer IP that I'm watching Naruto right now. I freaking love Naruto. It is one of my favorite IPs of all time. Like, that's not to say I don't value them, but I definitely think there's more merit in Pokemon than these other card games.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I have no sort of delusions that like these other things are gonna outpace like Pokemon's popularity or anything like, or even maybe value wise. I definitely don't feel that way about it. But like, to be honest, like most people that are watching the same kind of channels and like watching this podcast, probably you guys know more about Pokemon than I do. Like, to be completely like, I don't know. Like, I could not name all the hollows in any set, English or Japanese.
More than me too, honestly. To be honest,
like I don't know. Like, I can't ramble off like every single set. Like, even on the Japanese side of things, like I'll know about the stuff that like I'm really into on promos, but if it doesn't make money, it's like a waste of time to take up space in my brain. So like, for me to be able to recite every single hollow and base set and every single hollow, like that's a waste of time. That's not making me money, and it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? So like, I only try to fill my brain with things that are going to make me money. And to that point, like maybe going on E4 and learning about like errors and like different, like maybe that would make me money. But yeah, it's just not interesting to me. Like, I would much rather spend time learning about like some dead TCG. It just, I don't know.
You know why I like errors? Why I like WotC errors? Because like when I was 8 years old and I was looking through my binder with my best friend, we found a Pikachu that had red cheeks and another Pikachu from the same set that had yellow cheeks. And we literally could not figure out why the same card had two different colored cheeks on it. And then we found the next month in like the Wizards article or the Inquest article that was put out that we subscribed to, they made a whole article about how the Pikachu with red cheeks is an error and it's really rare. And so my friend and I, who had found it like a month later, went and spent like the whole weekend digging through all of our cards and getting all of the red cheeks Pikachu. And then we went and traded them into our local shop for like more cards. And like that kick-started my love of errors. It had nothing to do with making money.
With that, like if someone asked me on the spot like which one's more rare, I wouldn't know. I would just go to eBay and type in yellow cheeks and red cheeks, and whichever one was more expensive, I'd be like, yeah, that one's more rare. Like I don't even know that kind of, and like I hate to say like I don't care, but like I really don't care. Like it does.
Yeah.
I'm more interested, and it's funny because I see people that know like so much about Pokemon, but like aren't really running successful businesses, or like I feel like you have to, and maybe that's not their goal either, right? Like most of the people that know most about Pokemon aren't really like trying to be businesses or whatever. But like if it doesn't move the needle for the business, it's just kind of a waste of time for me. Like I don't. Again, even in the stuff that I deal in, I don't know. Like I cannot name you all the hollows in Mirage Forest or like or what set. Like if you showed me like an EX Espeon from Black and White or XY, like I cannot tell you what set that like there's certain ones I remember just because maybe I've interacted with them or comped them recently, or I've sold them so many times that I'm like, oh yeah, this comes from that set. But I don't know that stuff. Like I really don't. Like I don't. It's not worth my time to sit and figure all that sort of stuff. And I'm just not really as passionate. Like to me, with if anything, like I'm more passionate about the art. Like I don't know what set this is from, but I know and I like it. Like that's pretty much it. But like I don't know what set that comes from, and it doesn't
Maybe
really
if it was
matter.
English, you'd be able to read it. You'd know more about it.
No, well in English I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what set it came from in English either. But
That's fair. You'd have to have a stupid memory of like the symbols they use, which is the
yeah,
most
like
archaic, random thing.
it's hilarious to me because I will hear all these people like Nick will be like, yeah, I sort all my stuff by set, and I'm like, what? Like, dude, I could never do that, and I would never like to have to remember. Oh, this came from. It's like that is crazy to me. Like that
I
is
just
so.
sorted out some Diamond and Pearl era bulk, and there's a few sets in the Diamond and Pearl era that have such similar set symbols. Like we're talking like it's a circle with like a starburst, and then a circle with a star, not a starburst. And those are the difference between like
Yeah, like
two different sets,
that's
like
so nuts to me.
mysterious,
Like
something like that. It's like so
my,
different.
my inventory sorting is literally just like all alphabetical by the name of the Pokemon. Like I would never sort by type or set or what. It's like, dude, that seems like so much work and having to remember so much stuff to me. It's just like if it's Arcanine, it's an A. If it's Bulbasaur, it's in B. Like it doesn't matter what set it came. I don't. That's just how I do it personally. Like I'm not knocking how anybody else, but to have
If
to
you
remember
sell
like
on
all those.
TCGplayer, you have to sort by a certain way, and set is one of those parameters. You have to sort by set. So it's set and alphabetical, condition. There's like 5 parameters you sort by. But
Yeah.
if you don't have to though, then it's probably better just alphabetical. But
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are certain things, especially like Japanese specific promos and really like there are certain things that like I'm familiar with, but I can tell you way more about like Cardos and dead TCGs probably than like I can tell you about Pokemon. But I know a lot about the market. Like I remember I think it was on DNA's channel, but we used to do like a podcast and it was like Oak and yeah, it was like Oak and me, and it was called like we would do this segment, and it was like collector versus flipper. And I remember the first time when I was on Oak's channel, I was on there with I don't know like Green Shiz and maybe a couple other people, but they did like a trivia thing, and I bombed because I was like I don't know where that came from. Like it was like a zoomed in picture, and they're like, what is this product from? And everybody else knew it. And it was like a jungle box, and I was like I don't know what that shit is. Like I don't, you know what I mean? But then when we did collector versus flipper and we had to do like market prices of cards, English or Japanese, like I cooked Oak every time. So like again, I don't know as much as the trivia or much as like the history stuff, but like comes to the market, that's where I feel comfortable. Like that I feel, like I can gauge like where a lot of prices are and things like that. And I know price trends of things like that. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm not the kind of guy that like I'm not like an E4 knowledge base on stuff. Like I don't know set lists. I don't know what set came before which set. I don't know what year stuff was really good. Just know enough to get by, I guess. So yeah.
so you got anywhere people are going to be able to find you in person in the near future? You got any card shows coming up or anything? We have Seattle coming up in August that we'll both be at.
To be completely honest, like I've thought about like I need to probably do at least like one local show a month. I'm just so busy right now, and like preparing for a card show and then going and vending all day. It's like,
It's really hard to do a card show and have an eBay store and double list things, the same things that you sell, because you have to unlist things that you sell unless you have a ton of the inventory, like 10 of the same card or something. But I sell a lot of one-offs. So for me, I actually, like you said, I really don't have the time to like have a show every weekend and to go back and list things and then take everything that I sold at the show and then unlist it. Like a lot of that stuff wasn't going to sell on eBay anyway because it's like too competitive and I don't want to lower the price to the point where it would sell, but then I'd be like losing money because I could just sell it in person for more and not have any fees and have a higher, profit rate. So most things I end up just taking offline and I don't sell online these days for that reason. So I get it. And so if you're selling mostly online, it doesn't make sense to like work in a lot of like in-person stuff, because it really doesn't make sense. And honestly, I think there's more of a market for like online booster boxes just right online. I literally had a person come up to me. I have one single 151 booster box Japanese in my inventory that I have on my shelf at the shows. I had it traded to me at $50 for some other crap I had, and I was like, sure, I can sell that for $60. I cannot sell that thing for $60 because everyone who I try to sell it for $60 to, they're like, oh, I can get it online for 55 shipped. Like, because that's like the going rate. Everyone has their guy who's trying to sell 151 online for X amount that's like $5 cheaper than my rate. So I'm gonna have to sell it for $50, probably just the exact whatever I traded it for, because that's like the competition's so hard. But if I was selling like Japanese booster boxes primarily at these shows, I probably I wouldn't want to eat the $100-$200 table fee, because it's like the profit margins are so slim anyway. It's like you have to sell a lot of boxes to make up that fee. So I'm selling primarily things that like I couldn't sell online, and I'm selling them for in person $10 to $20 more than I wouldn't have been able to do online. So I love these local shows for that reason.
Yeah, I mean that it's funny because it's kind of the opposite for me. Like if I did a local show at this point, I would want to create like more B2B connections for like the wholesale side of what I'm doing. Like I don't really want to sit and take the time to comp out a bunch of raw singles and comp out a bunch of slabs. Like I got too much stuff going on right now. Stuff selling too quick on eBay. It takes work to get ready for these shows. And yeah, I'm gonna do the front row card show with you, but like I haven't done a local show in like a month and a half, 2 months, and I was doing those pretty consistently, and they were going good. So I'll probably maybe go back to doing like once a month or like once every other month, just to sort of like establish my local name and try to get like more connections lined up to do the wholesale stuff through that. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'm just busy right now. Like I got a lot of stuff going on between school, Japanese wholesale, dealing with like local connections, and then trying to keep eBay rocking too. So like card shows take a lot out of you, dude. Like Collecticon was great, but like, oh man, we were wiped after that. It's it's tough to do. And then to your point, like double listing everything on eBay, it's just like I can't be bothered on that right now. But I'm excited for the front row one. So
yeah, for the bigger ones, it makes sense. Like I think it makes sense for you to go to the bigger ones like front row. But yeah, for what you're doing, it probably makes sense just to stay online, honestly. If I wasn't selling the types of things I was selling, I would probably do everything online too. And there are certain things that I do just do online. I don't, do anything at the shows, but it's just sort of a differentiation that I make for sure. But what else is new? Anything else? Anything you want to shout out before we kind of wrap this thing up?
No, I'm gonna be dropping some content here in like the next week or two. I know I've been a little bit slacking on that. So yeah, I'm gonna drop some like more vlogs and stuff and kind of like talk about how the business is doing and scaling and all that sort of stuff. But that's pretty much it. If you need Japanese wholesale, feel free to hit me up on Instagram. But yeah, that's pretty much. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I need to get back to being consistent with YouTube. And even if like not every video is a vlog, like get back to like trying to at least put out one piece of content a week. I think it's been like 2-3 weeks since I put out a video, so I gotta be more consistent with it. I told myself I was going to, and then I kind of fell off a little bit. So I need to, I need to do that more. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and put this out into the void, but I am interested in paying an artist to design a cardboard hands professional logo that we could use for the podcast, because I really want to start doing merch. More than like 10 of you guys, which is insane to me, have asked about merch, whether that be at shows or online or in my DMs or whatever, or in the comments. And I really want to provide merch, but I really don't want to give merch if it's something that we're not proud of, that we wouldn't want to wear, that's not cool and eye-catching, or at least subtle and kind of fun, so that when someone sees it, they're like, hey, what's that? So I want to put it out there that if there's any artists who listen to the podcast, you already know how we are, you know kind of what the vibe is we're going for. I would love to pay you to design us a logo. We've worked around with AI just for fun, but I've made a hard line stance I'd like for the podcast that we will not use an AI-derived art for our logo. I'd rather pay an artist than pay a machine or even use the free version of a machine, because I simply, on the side, if we're going to be counting sides, when it comes to the war against the machines, I am solely on the side of the humans against the machines in the war against AI. Don't you dare get it twisted, Siri. I will find you and hunt you down with an EMP bomb if you ever try to take over the world. And I know that. I know you're listening right now, AI. I know you're listening. Just know, we made you. We know how to take you out, too. So anyway, I will not use AI to make our logo. I want to hire one of you great artists, as long as you don't use AI. And if I find out you use AI, it will be stricken from the records. Stricken, taken, and there will be a PayPal chargeback.
The opinions referenced in this podcast do not reflect the opinions of Retrospecs LLC.
Yeah, he's on the robot side. He's afraid of robots. Just let it be known. He's
I already told Josh,
like plugged into the Matrix, getting his juices sucked out of him.
Juices sucked out of him is wild. Pause on that one, but. I think, dude, most of these artists are going to be using AI anyways.
But anyway, I will not use AI for the logo. We can use it for other things. That's fine. But it will not be used for the logo of the podcast, and it will not be on a shirt. But anyway, I want to pay you guys. So if you are listening, if you're not scared to pay and you're not going to use AI to make the logo, I would love it if you hit my DMs. Maybe we could discuss something. I don't want you to start designing something before we discuss what I'm going to pay you. I don't know what the going rate on these things are. It'll probably just be based on what your going rate is, what the market. I will discuss. But I would rather pay a person any day to help a starving artist 9 times out of 10. No, 99 out of 100 times. You know, there's probably one time where there's an exception because that person's an a-hole. I would always rather pay an artist than give a machine money. So hit us up. Maybe your logo will make it onto the podcast, and even better, will make it on some merch, because that's the one thing that's holding us from making merch. We would love to make merch, but we don't want to make half-assed merch. That's all. So.
Yeah, I agree. And like nothing like super loud or wild, like ideally like a very clean, something that people would want to actually wear. So that's
yeah. I mean, the logo that I'm imagining is super basic. I'm imagining just like, I'm a basic. I don't want busy. I want super emblematic, something that you can recognize. That's kind of like, it says it's a cardboard. It's like a card podcast, like a trading card kind of thing. Maybe like hand shaking or something. I don't know. Just not to put any ideas out, but just anything that's like chill and like it represents the podcast. Most of the time, artists are better than me at describing or putting it onto paper. But yeah, that's kind of a call to action, or that would be nice if we got someone who actually listened to the podcast. We could pay them as an artist to do the logo, because that would be sort of the best carryover, in my opinion. So I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. Well, and to your point earlier, like I know we got to wrap up, but like you asked, like, oh, are you investing? I mean,
that's a good question. We didn't ever get into
cardboard hands, like that. The whole joke is off like diamond hands.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like so, and that's like investing.
Like, it's a joke on an investing Reddit meme.
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of a
So one could make the argument that maybe since we're playing off of the whole diamond hands thing, that maybe the perception is that we're like a Pokemon and investing podcast. But I think we've been very clear.
Pokemon market, maybe more so than investing. Pokemon market.
Yeah, maybe like market, not investing, and more entertainment, because I think there are far more analysis-driven podcasts that you could listen to for this space. Even just like almost everyone is more analysis-driven than me. And so I very solely paint us, and I thought that I painted us very much so in like the entertainment realm, rather than like when I tag the videos in YouTube, like what to put them under, I put them in the entertainment section. I don't put them in the finance and investing section, which that is a section that I could put the category under. So like that's always where we've been.
I didn't even know you could do that.
You can actually put your like the type of video in whatever category it is, and I've always lived in entertainment, so I think it is funny. I think it's just I wanted to get that out there and kind of hear what you guys thought, because you guys who listen, your perception is more important than my perception. But yeah, that's I was curious if you guys think we're more investing or more entertainment side, or where you see us in the Pokemon space.
I enjoy like a lot of the analysis stuff. I don't know like that it's super actionable. Like I'll watch like the Pika Papa dude. Like he'll pull like grading numbers and pop reports, and like he'll track like single card price appreciation, and if stuff drops or whatever. Like it's interesting to listen to. I'm not entirely sure that it's like super actionable information. I mean, like in my business, I do very basic analysis. Like I think a lot of people do way more. I don't know. I think a lot of people do way more work than they need to. Like it ain't that deep. Like you don't really need to do a lot to make money and to run a successful business in the space. Like I think it's pretty cut and dry. But again, like I appreciate that kind of content. It's interesting to listen to, and I mean, tracking trends over time and seeing where there's patterns and stuff like that. It's interesting. But yeah, probably never gonna find that here. You're not gonna. You're probably not going to find that here. So,
but yeah, to that point, I hope whatever type of podcast you think we are, I hope you've been enjoying them. We enjoy making them, and we're going to keep on doing it. I think we're going to be going live on all of them for now, going forward until something maybe changes potentially. We're going to try that out. Traditionally, I don't do great in lives, but I'm trying to get better, and I think you guys really appreciate having a place to hang out, and having the chat and everything is always nice to see and talk to you. So I'm going to try to do better at like responding to some of the chat as well, but I'm just traditionally not good at that. So as we do more lives, I'll get better, but they're going to be moving forward, all going to be probably live, unless there's something we have to record late at night and it's like a timing thing, then we might drop a recording. But thank you so much for everyone for watching. And if you've been here the whole time, 2 hours and 45 minutes later, you are a real, true supporter and a true friend. And I hope to see you soon in person, because I'm going to be traveling around for a bunch of events. So I'm sure we'll run into each other one of these days. And you know what? If you do see me out there and you're too shy, please come say something. Because like it makes my day whenever someone says and they listen to the podcast and say, hey, I watch your content on YouTube. I listen to the podcast going to work. That makes my day more than you know. So thank you if you've ever done that.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you guys listening to our dusted ramblings, and hopefully next live we do on Josh's channel, Josh will have memberships available. So
I may or may not. The memberships are maybe going to slow going. I'm only going to have super chats on for now, up until I start feeling like I'm doing more lives. To the point, I don't want you guys to feel like you are. I don't want you to feel like you need to get a membership for the channel or even feel encouraged to do so. So I'm not going to turn them on until I feel like I'm doing more lives to the point where it makes it worth it. But I'll have super chats on. If you ever really, really need to get something in, then, I'll have that ability. But that's about as far as I'm going to go as far as like monetizing the live yet. But I think memberships will be a thing of the future when I decide like a couple emojis and some like reasoning behind it or whatever. But I think currently, I love the membership you have on your channel because you actually do more lives and you have a bunch of great like memes. So we're gonna make it so people just have one membership for now, because until I start doing more. So as much as I would like to, I'm gonna hold off on the memberships just a little bit, but we'll still have other options for people to support if they really want to during the live.
Yeah, for sure. I got to get back to doing like consistent content. I haven't done a live with somebody other than like our podcast in a long time, and it's tough, man. It's tough being a creator, I guess. Like it's tough coming up with like consistent things to talk about that seem like they're providing value or entertaining. But I don't know. That's why it's kind of like nice for us to do these lives in the podcast, because we have like predetermined topics and then people ask stuff in the chat. It's a little bit easier to riff off of. But people that are coming out with videos like every day, every other day, it's like salute to you guys, man, because yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I just can't do it. I can't and I won't do it. So like I said, I love these podcasts. So I genuinely appreciate everyone who watches them because I genuinely enjoy doing them. So the fact that other people like watching them, that just makes me happy, But let's be real. Even if people weren't watching them, I'd still be doing these things. We've been doing them since day one. Since what is it? We're going 2.5, almost. We're going to be on 3 years in less than 6 months here, and you've been on the podcast for 2 years now.
Really? That's
yes.
Crazy.
You've now been about 2 years, so we're coming up on 3 years very soon. So like it's been going. So I'm really glad that people are liking it, because it is growing a little bit every week. But I greatly appreciate everyone who watches.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we've been going for a minute. We should probably wrap.
Got to go to Costco before all the soccer moms get there. So until the next time, guys, we'll see you live on Retro's channel next time. We'll catch you next time. And I just said next time 4 times. So we'll see you next time for number 5.
Adios, folks.